Welcome to Wife Cheating Story. I hope you have an enjoyable and relaxing time listening. Let's get started.
As the courtroom quieted, Julius's voice echoed in the recording, dripping with arrogance. Hez too clueless to fight back. We'll forge his name, steal the property, and vanish. If he protests, I'll destroy him with the affair. Tanner sat frozen, hearing the mockery of his trust, his identity twisted into a weapon. In the gallery, Melody wept silently, her betrayal laid bare, while Julius glared defiantly. The jury shifted, tension thick as they prepared to decide the fate of a man who had stolen everything, his wife, his face, and nearly his life. But the real reckoning had only just begun. Before we dive into the full story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if you're enjoying this tale, don't forget to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss any of our upcoming stories. Chapter 1. Tanner Dawson rose with a soft exhalation, pushing aside the crisp white sheets. Rays of Florida sunlight cast angled shadows across the bedroom floor, a gentle warmth touching his face. He blinked away lingering drowsiness and listened for the usual morning noises. The laughter of his children in the hallway, the faint clink of cups in the kitchen if Melody was already preparing breakfast. But the house felt oddly still. He glanced at the alarm clock, 6:48 a.m. Perhaps he'd beaten them awake. Maybe Melody was sleeping in, tired from recent stress at her job. She was a part-time event planner, often citing late nights organizing galas or fundraisers. Lately, though, she'd been more distant than usual. Tanner inhaled deeply, trying to dispel a faint sense of unease that had gnawed at him for weeks. "What's going on with me?" he murmured, sitting upright. Perhaps he was overthinking. The past month had been busy at his occupational therapy clinic, with multiple complex patient cases. Stress could manifest in odd ways, like suspecting trouble where none existed. Still, a flicker of worry persisted. He recalled last night. Melody had been unusually quiet at dinner, her phone face down on the table, responding to messages with quick glances. When he asked if something was up, she gave a tight-lipped, "just tired." That was typical, sure, but her eyes had flicked away as though she was hiding something. He rubbed his temples. "Stop imagining," he told himself. He rose, dressed in casual slacks and a polo shirt, then padded into the hallway. The children's room sat opposite each other, Sophie, age 8, and Ryan, age 6. Both doors were half open. He peeked in. Sophie was stirring, rubbing her eyes while Ryan dozed, hair a tousled mess. "Morning, Dad," Sophie mumbled, blinking. "Morning, sweet pea," he replied softly, leaning in for a quick kiss to her forehead. "Sleep okay?" She nodded, half smiling. "Mommy's awake? I heard her up earlier." Tanner's brow furrowed. "I'm not sure. I'll check." Heading toward the kitchen, Tanner half expected to find Melody bustling around, coffee steaming on the counter. Instead, he encountered emptiness, a dish towel strewn across the island, no sign of fresh breakfast. The coffee maker was cold. That was unusual. Melody typically thrived on routine. She'd either brew coffee for him, or he'd see her sipping tea on the patio. This hush felt unsettling. "Mel!" he called, moving through the living room. Silence. He opened the back door, peering at the small backyard. The sun was already bright, glinting off the dew on their modest patch of grass. No one there. Returning inside, he paused by the front windows, noticing Melody's car missing from the driveway. "That's odd," he whispered. She rarely left before preparing the kids' breakfast, or at least telling him. A wave of confusion rippled through him. Where had she gone so early? He heard Sophie behind him. "Dad, is Mom gone?" He turned, forcing a calm smile. "Looks like she stepped out. Did she say anything?" Sophie shrugged. No. I just heard water running at like 6. Then quiet. Ryan ambled in, yawning. Can we have cereal, Dad? Tanner ruffled his son's hair. Sure thing, bud. He set about pouring cereal, trying to quell the faint swirl of unease. He typed a quick text to Melody. Where'd you go so early? Everything okay? And pressed send. No immediate reply. His phone buzzed and he nearly jumped, hoping it was Melody. But the screen showed Oscar's name, Tanner's closest friend and colleague at the clinic. Hey, man, Oscar's bright voice greeted. Just wanted to remind you about that big client we have at 9. Mr. Leduc, the stroke patient needing new adaptive equipment. Tanner inhaled, forcing composure. Right, thanks. I'll be in by 8:30. Kids have school, so I'll drop them off. Oscar chuckled. You sound tense. All good? Tanner hesitated. Melody's out early. Didn't say where. A pause. Then Oscar's voice softened. Everything okay between you two? Tanner rubbed the back of his neck. I guess so. Maybe some errands. She's been stressed. Anyway, see you soon. He ended the call, glancing at his phone again. No text from Melody. A pit formed in his stomach. He tried to laugh off his anxiety. Perhaps she'd spontaneously decided to handle some event planning errand. Yet the bubble of worry refused to pop. He helped the kids dress, coaxed them through quick breakfasts, then ushered them to his car. Driving to the elementary school, he kept an eye on his phone, hoping for a text. None came. Sophie asked, Dad, is Mom picking us up or you? Me, he answered, swallowing tension. Mom's busy. Ryan fiddled with a toy. Busy all the time, he muttered. Tanner frowned at that, noticing the slight resentment in his son's tone. Is Melody pulling away from them too? He wondered. After dropping them off, he navigated to the clinic. The building was a modest single-story structure with large windows, bright interior decor, welcoming patients with disabilities. Usually, stepping inside gave him a sense of purpose, but today his mind churned with unanswered questions. He spotted Oscar leaning by the reception desk. A jovial but observant man, Oscar had always read Tanner's moods like an open book. Tanner forced a smile. Morning. Oscar cocked an eyebrow. Yeah, morning. You look like you're bracing for a hurricane. Tanner set his bag down. Mel's gone. No note, no text. Took her car at dawn. Oscar's eyes narrowed. Weird. Did you try calling? Went straight to voicemail. Oscar exhaled. Could be innocent. Maybe a last-minute errand for an event gig. Maybe, Tanner echoed, though the knot in his gut remained. Let's handle Mr. Leduc. I'll figure out Mel's situation after. Mr. Leduc's therapy session demanded Tanner's full concentration evaluating fine motor function, adjusting an adaptive sling for his weakened arm. Typically, Tanner found calm in these sessions, focusing on patient progress. But he struggled to maintain composure, repeatedly glancing at his phone. Oscar jumped in, helping demonstrate an exercise with the patient. Sensing Tanner's distraction, he discreetly covered for him, guiding the session to a successful close. After the patient left, Oscar cornered Tanner in a supply closet. Spill, you're way off your game. Tanner sighed. I can't shake it. She's never done something like vanish at dawn. She's ignoring my calls. Oscar's gaze held concern. Look, I don't want to freak you out, but maybe something is up. Could she be upset about something? Tanner stared at the floor. We had no big fight. She's just been distant. This is new. Oscar nodded slowly. All right. Let's get through today's appointments. Then I'll help you do some sleuthing if needed. Tanner swallowed gratitude. Thanks, man. By midday, Melody still hadn't replied. Tanner felt tension coil tighter. He left the clinic early, telling Oscar he needed to check on something at home. The drive felt endless, mind-conjuring worst-case scenarios, accident, meltdown, another man that's insane, he thought. Melody wouldn't cheat. They had a decent marriage, 2 lovely kids, stable finances. Right? He pulled into the driveway, noting her car wasn't there. Stepping inside, the house was eerily quiet again. But on the coffee table lay a small envelope with his name scrawled in Melody's familiar handwriting. Heart pounding, he tore it open. "Tanner, I'm dealing with some personal issues. I'll be out of town for a day or 2. Don't worry about me. Please, watch the kids. I'll explain later." A wave of confusion and hurt washed over him. No explanation, no mention of a location or reason, just personal issues. He slumped onto the couch, staring at the note. What the hell is going on? Anger began to replace confusion. She'd left him in the dark, abruptly. She'd told nothing to the kids either. This wasn't the behavior of a normal spouse. Something bigger lurked, some hidden puzzle piece. He retrieved his phone, texted her again. "Mel, found your note. Where are you? The kids are asking. This is not okay." Still no response. He typed to Oscar. She left an odd note. "I think something's seriously wrong. Could we talk tonight?" Within moments, Oscar replied. "Sure. My place, 8 p.m.? Tanner exhaled. Yes, he needed to talk to someone. Meanwhile, he forced himself to function for the kids, picking them up from school, smiling through dinner. He told them Mom was helping a friend out of town. They bought it for the moment. But inside, Tanner stewed, suspicion blossoming. That night, Tanner headed to Oscar's modest apartment near downtown. The building had a cozy vibe, potted plants lining the hallway. Oscar opened the door, waved him in. After a quick handshake, they settled on a sofa. "All right," Oscar began. "Tell me everything. The note, her behavior, any prior clues?" Tanner recounted the distance, her phone's secrecy, sudden morning departure, the cryptic note. He admitted a creeping fear of betrayal. Oscar's face hardened. "I hate to say it, but it could be infidelity, or something equally big, maybe blackmail. But if it was purely blackmail, she'd probably confide in you." Tanner swallowed. "So you suspect an affair?" Oscar gave a slight nod. "I can't be sure, but we can't ignore it. People do strange things under stress. The abrupt vanish, ignoring your calls, all classic red flags." Tanner stared at the floor, heart pounding. "She'd never do that to me, right? We had no major marital issues, just normal stress." Oscar placed a hand on Tanner's shoulder. "Normal stress can mask deeper troubles. Let's consider ways to confirm. If she's with someone, we can find out. But you gotta prepare yourself for that possibility." The thought of Melody with another man tore at him. He forced down a surge of rage, voice trembling. "I have to know the truth." They brainstormed. Oscar suggested a private investigator or discreetly checking credit card statements. A friend of Oscar's, specialized in digital forensics, maybe check Melody's phone logs if they could get access. Tanner felt uneasy about snooping, but the secrecy was tearing him apart. "I need answers." They agreed to approach the situation systematically. Gather intel, keep calm. Oscar offered a final piece of advice. "If she is cheating, you have every right to be furious. But let's play it smart. No blind confrontation. We gather evidence, then decide how to act." Tanner nodded, jaws tight. "Yes. No meltdown. She can't suspect I'm onto her." Driving home from Oscar's place, Tanner felt the shift in his psyche. He'd always been trusting, gentle with Melody, wanting to see the best in her. Now, suspicion flared. The possibility that she was lying, maybe even intimately involved with some unknown man, churned his stomach. Yet a cold resolution formed. If she was betraying him, he would not be a naive victim. He would respond decisively, He owed it to himself and the kids. Under the moonlit sky, he parked, gazing at the dark house. He recalled the vow they made years ago: loyalty, honesty, building a future together. If she broke that vow, I'll make her regret it, he thought, eyes glinting with heartbreak and a blossoming fury. Chapter 2. Morning dawned subdued. Tanner fed the kids and got them off to school, plastering on a semblance of normalcy. Inside, he felt like a man walking a tightrope over a chasm. Melody was still AWOL, with no texts or calls to explain. Her cryptic note repeated in his mind. "I'll explain later." He tried to carry on at the clinic, helping stroke patients do repetitive arm lifts, teaching a child with cerebral palsy new fine motor tasks, but his thoughts kept drifting. He double-checked his phone every 10 minutes. Nothing from Melody. Oscar cornered him mid-morning. "Any update?" Tanner shook his head, tension in every line of his face. "Not a peep." Oscar grimaced. "We doing our plan, or do you want to wait?" Tanner exhaled. "Let's at least start looking at phone records or card statements. I can't exist in limbo." Oscar patted his arm. "I'll text my buddy who does digital forensics. Maybe he can guide us." During lunch break, Tanner visited his local bank. He politely requested a transaction printout for their joint checking and Melody's personal credit card statements. The teller recognized him. He'd been a customer for years and complied, though she cast a curious look. Scanning the data in his car, Tanner's heart sank at seeing a few high-end hotel charges over the past 2 months, entries he never recalled discussing with Melody. Spa services, expensive dinners, all out of town. He stared at lines like Hotel Gardenia, $420, Sunset Spa, $280, La Bouffe Restaurant, $190. Melody never mentioned these. Could they be event planning expenses? Possibly, but she usually got reimbursed by her clients. No reimbursements appeared here. A cold suspicion. She's been meeting someone in secret. He closed his eyes, bracing for the wave of anger. "I can't just jump to conclusions," he muttered. But the evidence looked damning. He snapped pictures of the statements, sending them to Oscar with a short message. "We have questionable charges. This is bigger than I feared." After work, he picked up Sophie and Ryan. Their anxious questions stung. "Dad, is Mom back yet?" Sophie asked softly in the car. Tanner inhaled. "Not yet, sweet pea. She had to travel for a day or two. She'll call soon." Ryan's lip trembled. "We want her at my soccer practice." Tanner bit his cheek. "She might not make it, bud." Their disappointment weighed on him. He felt a surge of resentment at Melody for letting the kids down. This wasn't just an adult affair. Her abrupt absence hurt the children, too. That evening, after the kids slept, Oscar introduced Tanner to Paul, a digital forensics specialist, via video chat. Paul was a soft-spoken man with sharp, analytical eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Tanner, I can help check phone logs if you have access to her phone or your shared phone plan," Paul explained. "We might see patterns of suspicious calls or texts." Tanner nodded. "We share a family plan. I can log into our carrier's portal." "Perfect," Paul said, leaning forward. "Look for repeated calls at odd hours or new numbers." They spent 2 hours combing through call logs from the past 2 months. Sure enough, a recurring unknown number popped up late at night, nearly every other day. On some weekends, calls lasted an hour or more. Tanner swallowed. That must be him, or someone connected to her, maybe an event client, but unlikely to chat so intimately. Paul frowned. Also seeing a separate set of messages. Could be an encrypted app, given the data spikes, but no standard text records. She might be using some secure chat, like Telegram or Signal. Tanner's face turned grim. She's been careful about it. That means it's definitely something big. He ended the call feeling hollow. The mounting signs pointed to infidelity, or worse, some deeper scheme. The memory of the credit card charges on out-of-town hotels, her secrecy, the repeated calls with an unknown number, someone had his wife's attention. Tanner paced his living room, fists clenching and unclenching. Part of him raged, wanting to storm into that unknown man's presence, demanding an explanation. Another part cautioned him to remain calm, gather unassailable proof, then act. He pictured the heartbreak on the kids' faces if they learned Mom was cheating. The idea spurred him forward. He'd protect them from the fallout, but he wouldn't let Melody just walk away unscathed if she was truly betraying him. Past midnight, as he dozed fitfully on the couch, his phone chimed. A text from Melody. "I'm safe. Sorry I left abruptly. Don't worry about me, I'll be back soon." No mention of location or reason. Tanner's heart pounded. He typed a furious reply. "This is unacceptable. Kids are worried. Where exactly are you? At least call them. We need to talk." But she didn't respond. Just that one cryptic text. He flung the phone onto a cushion, adrenaline coursing. She's clearly ignoring my pleas for clarity. The next day, he confided in a friendly acquaintance, Marcia, who was a family law attorney. They met for lunch at a quiet cafe. He explained the suspicious hotel bills, phone logs, her abrupt disappearance. Marcia pursed her lips. "If she's cheating, that can affect spousal support or custody if you choose divorce. Florida is somewhat no fault, but extramarital betrayal can still influence proceedings. Gathering evidence is wise, but be discreet." Tanner exhaled. "I'm not ready to jump to divorce, but if it's true she's betrayed me, I can't stay in the dark." Marcia nodded. "Keep building your case. If it comes down to it, you want a strong legal position, especially for the kids." That prospect divorce chilled him. He'd built a life with Melody for over a decade. They had kids, a routine. The idea of it shattering over an affair felt surreal. But if the facts demanded it, he wouldn't cling to illusions. One unusual lead. Tasha, Melody's younger sister, who lived 2 hours away. Tasha occasionally visited, but Melody had grown distant from her as well. Perhaps Tasha knew something. Tanner dialed Tasha's number. She picked up after a few rings, sounding cautious. "Hey, Tanner, is everything all right? You never call me." He swallowed. I'm worried about Melody. She's vanished for days. Do you have any idea what's going on?" Tasha hesitated. "She mentioned a big emotional crisis, said she needed space. I tried prying, but she shut me out. I suspect she's seeing someone." Tanner's breath caught. "She told you that directly?" "Not exactly. She hinted at an intense new relationship that feels so right, but complicated." "She never named him, though." Tanner's grip tightened on the phone. "Why wouldn't she just talk to me?" Tasha sighed. "She's probably confused, guilt-ridden. Listen, I don't condone cheating, but I sense she's in over her head." He ended the call in a haze, so Tasha suspected an affair, too. That evening, while tucking Sophie into bed, she asked, "Dad, is Mom mad at us? She barely calls." Tanner's chest constricted. "No, sweetie, she's not mad. She's just dealing with something grown up. She loves you." Sophie's eyes welled up. "Then why won't she come back?" He forced a gentle tone. "I'm sure she'll explain soon." Inside, rage and heartbreak warred. Melody had put their daughter in this painful confusion for an affair? Another sleepless night found Tanner pacing the living room, determined to act. He had enough circumstantial proof to suspect a full-blown affair. Her abrupt exit might indicate she was traveling with her lover, possibly staying in more fancy hotels on his dime. He scrolled through pictures on his phone, Happy memories of him, Melody, and the kids at Disney, celebrating birthdays. A tear slipped down his cheek. That was the woman he thought he knew. Now she'd become someone unrecognizable. Gazing out the window into the silent suburban street, Tanner felt a new, steely resolution lock into place. If Melody had indeed betrayed him with some unknown man, he would not quietly accept it. He'd gather every scrap of evidence, orchestrate a methodical revenge that left no doubt she'd wronged him. The gentle, naive husband was gone, replaced by a man who refused to be anyone's fool. Chapter 4. 3. Tanner rose early, leaning over a notebook at the kitchen table. The kids still slept, the house quiet. He scribbled bullet points, gather phone records, possibly hire PI check bank statements further back, possibly confront the unknown number. He paused, reflecting on Melody's personality. If she was driven enough to vanish with her lover, she might not return soon. Then again, maybe she'd appear unexpectedly, telling half-truths. "I'll be ready either way," he thought, lips pressed in a grim line. He'd never thought he'd need to plan a revenge, but now he saw no alternative. She had disrespected him, lied to their kids, threatened the stability of their home. He would not let her or her unknown accomplice walk away unscathed. Around noon, Tanner met Oscar in a discreet corner of a local coffee shop. The aroma of fresh espresso mingled with the murmur of patrons. They settled at a small table, speaking in low tones. Oscar surveyed Tanner's tense features. "Any changes in her phone activity?" Tanner shook his head. "No. She's still ignoring me except for that single text. My guess is she's with that unknown man." Oscar drummed his fingers. "We could see if Paul can trace her location via her phone. Might be invasive, but if we can prove she's in a hotel under her lover's name, that's a slam dunk." Tanner exhaled. "I hate stooping to that level, but she left me no choice. Let's do it." They tapped out messages to Paul, who replied quickly, "Send me her phone IMEI or iCloud details. I'll attempt a location ping." Tanner grimaced at how surreal this was. He typed the info, then slid his phone back into his pocket. Oscar sipped his latte. "We'll confirm the affair, or confirm something else if it's not an affair, but all signs point to cheating." Tanner nodded slowly, bitterness twisting his gut. "I'm ready for the truth, however painful." That evening, Paul delivered results. Melody's phone last pinged near a coastal resort 2 hours away. Specifically, the Surfside Villa Resort, known for pricey oceanfront suites. Tanner stared at the text, fury rising. She was at a romantic getaway, presumably. He typed to Oscar, "Surfside Villa. She's there with him, presumably. I can't believe this." Oscar responded, "Stay calm, man. I can drive us tomorrow. We gather evidence. No rash confrontation." Tanner's jaw set. Yes, we'd do this properly. He refused to leave Sophie and Ryan alone or anxious, so he called his retired aunt, Marianne, who lived nearby. She adored the kids, always offering help. He explained vaguely that he had urgent business for a day or two. Marianne gladly agreed to watch them, letting them stay overnight. The kids seemed excited. Aunt Marianne's house had a big backyard and a friendly golden retriever. "Thanks, Dad," they chirped, blissfully unaware of the adult storm swirling. Tanner kissed their foreheads, feeling heartbreak that Melody was missing these everyday joys. But perhaps she no longer cared. Before dawn the next day, Oscar picked Tanner up in a discreet sedan. They drove under the pink-tinged sky, the coastline eventually coming into view. Surfside Villa Resort, perched elegantly by a stretch of sandy beach, palm trees swaying. They parked at an adjacent lot, not wanting to appear on the resort's official records. The plan: pose as potential guests or casual visitors, discreetly check if Melody was registered. Oscar glanced at Tanner, reading the tension on his face. Remember, we gather evidence. Keep your cool. Don't blow up if you see them together. Tanner exhaled. Right. Let's do this. They strolled into the lobby, which boasted marble floors, tropical floral arrangements, and a gentle soundtrack of steel drums. A cheerful receptionist greeted them. Oscar asked about suite availability for a weekend getaway, feigning casual interest in the rates. Meanwhile, Tanner let his gaze roam. The place was fairly busy, couples checking in, a few families milling about. He caught a glimpse of a sign listing daily activities. Sunset cocktails on the private terrace at 7 p.m. Possibly a place to spot Melody if she was roaming with her paramour. Once the receptionist stepped away to fetch a brochure, Oscar surreptitiously scanned the computer behind the desk. He memorized some lines. Guest Julius Gray, Suite 408. He rejoined Tanner, whispering, Julius Gray in 408. Could that be the guy? Melody's not listed as occupant, but maybe she's with him. Tanner's hands balled into fists. Julius. So that was the name of her lover. They staked out the resort lounge around midday, ordering iced teas. As they watched the comings and goings, a tall, dark-haired man entered from the pool area. Julius. Tanner nearly choked on his drink. The man's facial structure was eerily similar to Tanner's, like a darker, sharper version with a confident swagger. Oscar gaped. He looks like you! Tanner's heart hammered. What the? Julius wore a smug expression, wearing casual linen pants and an expensive watch. He strolled to the bar, flirting briefly with the bartender, then ambled toward the elevator. No sign of Melody at his side, but they guessed she might be upstairs. Tanner felt a cold sweat break out. Could it be coincidence that this man, identical or near identical to him, had seduced his wife? Oscar muttered, Is he your twin? Or some impersonator? This is weird, man. Tanner forced a steadiness to his voice. I have no twin. My parents never mentioned one. This is insane. They loitered discreetly, waiting. Eventually, Melody emerged from a hallway near the spa, wearing a casual sundress, hair slightly damp. She paused, scanning the lobby as if worried about being spotted. Then she headed to the elevator, pressed the button. Tanner clenched his jaw, heart lurching. Yes, she was here. Oscar gently grasped Tanner's shoulder, reminding him to stay calm. They watched from behind a pillar as Melody disappeared into the elevator. No illusions remained. She was definitely with Julius. In a fancy resort, no kids, no plausible excuse. Tanner felt a swirl of anger, disbelief, and heartbreak all at once. He forced a slow breath. This was the confirmation I needed. Oscar whispered, We could confront them now, but that might cause a scene. Or we keep gathering evidence, maybe get photos, track them. Your call? Tanner inhaled shakily. Let's get photographic proof. A direct confrontation might let them slip away or spin a narrative. I want to blow this wide open with no denial possible. Oscar nodded. All right. The private investigator recommended a method. We can rent a room on the same floor if available. Discreetly monitor them. They returned to the receptionist, booking a single night in a standard room. Then they discovered, conveniently, it was on the same floor as Suite 408, just a few doors down. Fate or luck seemed to assist their plan. Inside the rented room, Tanner set up a small digital camera and phone to record from the hallway if needed. Oscar texted the PI for additional backup. The stage was set for a thorough takedown, capturing Melody entering or leaving Julius's suite, confirming intimate contact, building a bulletproof case. As the day wore on, they took shifts peeking through the peephole, waiting for movement. Each passing minute, Tanner's heartbreak hardened into a cold determination. This was no misunderstanding. She's chosen to share a bed with a man who looks disturbingly like me. He vowed, "This ends on my terms." Chapter 4. Oscar and Tanner lounged in their rented room, tension thick. Through the peephole, they occasionally spotted guests strolling the corridor. Around 5 p.m., Julius emerged from Suite 408, wearing a collared shirt and polished loafers. He locked the door, tested it, then sauntered toward the elevator. Melody didn't appear. Tanner's heart hammered. "She's still inside?" Oscar typed quickly on his phone. "PI on standby, you good?" The reply, "Yes." Cameras set in the hallway corners. They decided to remain calm. Wait for the perfect moment. "We want a shot of them together, definitely," Oscar reminded. "A single photo of Julius alone means less." Tanner nodded, mouth dry. 30 minutes later, a hotel staffer wheeled a room service cart down the hall, stopping at 408. Melody opened the door, wearing a casual blouse and jeans, hair still damp from a shower. She signed the slip. The staffer left. She retreated back inside, leaving the door slightly ajar. Oscar signaled to Tanner. "She's definitely making herself at home in there. They might be planning dinner in their suite." Using the phone camera from their door's narrow vantage, Oscar snapped a few pictures. The half-open door revealed glimpses of an intimate setup inside flowers, a bottle of wine, enough to indicate a romantic scenario. About an hour later, Julius reappeared, stepping off the elevator. He carried boutique shopping bags, presumably gifts or fancy clothing. He strolled back to 408, tapped the key card. Melody greeted him with a quick, affectionate peck on the cheek. Oscar and Tanner both tensed, capturing more photos. The PI's hallway camera also recorded the affectionate greeting. Tanner's stomach twisted. She was so casual with this man, so comfortable in her betrayal. "I've seen enough," he whispered, voice trembling. "But we'll keep going." Oscar, the ever-resourceful friend, discreetly slipped a small directional microphone device under their door. It had limited range, but might catch muffled conversation from across the corridor if the lovers spoke near the suite door. They listened through earbuds, picking up partial snippets. Julius bragging. "Wait till you see the necklace I got you, suits you perfectly." Melody's laughter. "You spoil me, I feel guilty, but I can't resist you." Julius smugly. "Your clueless husband will never know, or if he does, I'll handle him." Tanner's blood boiled at that last line. "I'll handle him?" The arrogance was staggering. He wanted to barge in, but Oscar held him back, mouthing, "Wait, more evidence." They heard Julius mention, "Next week we seal the deal on that property you mentioned, right? Once your name's on the documents and your dear hubby remains none the wiser." Melody sighed. I'm worried. He's not stupid, Julius." Julius chuckled. "You saw how easily I led him astray by looking like him? He's too decent. He'll never risk scandal. We'll keep this hush-hush until we drain what we need." Tanner's jaw clenched, mind reeling. They were plotting some property scam behind his back, possibly forging his identity or leveraging that bizarre resemblance. Oscar scribbled notes, eyes wide in disbelief. "They're trying to cheat you financially," Tanner seethed quietly. "That bastard." Hearing Melody giggle softly, discussing how to access certain joint accounts, nearly broke Tanner's composure. He trembled, tears threatening. The woman he trusted was conspiring with a man who looked like him to siphon his finances. It was surreal and deeply painful. Oscar gently guided him away from the door, speaking in hushed tones. "We have enough. Let's not risk more." But Tanner shook his head. "I want them on camera, hugging, kissing, him calling me clueless the moment they confirm their affair is no random fling but a full betrayal." Oscar exhaled. "All right, but promise you'll keep calm." They positioned the hallway camera more precisely behind a decorative plant near Suite 408. The PI had left them a small magnetized minicam disguised as a vent cover. If Julius and Melody stepped outside again, they'd be captured in HD. As dusk fell, the corridor lights softened. Tanner's heart thundered each time he heard movement. At 7:15, the suite door opened. Melody emerged in a sleek black dress, adjusting an earring. Julius stepped out in a matching black suit, surprising similarity to Tanner's physique. They chatted in hushed excitement about heading to the terrace for cocktails. Oscar gave Tanner a knowing look. This is it. From their vantage, Tanner and Oscar recorded them, strolling down the hallway arm in arm. Julius even leaned over to kiss Melody's temple, the affection clear. Enough proof of the affair for any divorce court. Gathering boldness, Tanner decided to follow them at a distance to the terrace. Oscar wasn't keen. Too risky, they'll spot you. But Tanner insisted. I need to see. I'll keep a low profile. They tailed the couple through the elevator ride, trailing one floor behind, then out to the rooftop lounge area. The place was dimly lit, a romantic setup with scattered tables, gentle music. Hiding behind a potted palm, Tanner glimpsed Melody and Julius at a corner table, leaning in close, sharing quiet laughter. Julius's hand rested on her thigh. She didn't resist, even smiling. The sight hammered Tanner's heart. Oscar maintained a small camera from a distance, capturing more video. Each passing moment solidified the betrayal. Tanner clenched his jaw, forcing down the urge to confront them. He'd do it at the perfect moment, when it served him best. After capturing several minutes of footage, they slipped away. Enough was enough. They returned to their suite, adrenaline buzzing. Oscar patted Tanner's shoulder. We have it all. Multiple angles, audio, everything. This is unequivocal. Tanner sank onto the bed, burying his face in his hands. Despite the righteous fury, heartbreak stabbed at him. He'd seen final proof that the woman he loved was intimately tied to a cunning imposter. After a quiet moment, he drew a shaky breath, eyes burning with tears that refused to fall. Now we plan how to bring them down. They spent the next hour meticulously reviewing footage, labeling timestamps of crucial quotes like Julius calling him too decent to fight back, or Melody referencing their joint accounts. The plan, as they agreed, was to secure the children's future, protect Tanner's finances, then publicly humiliate Julius, possibly even press charges if forging identity or defrauding banks was part of the scheme. Tanner's voice hardened to a cold edge. Let them think they're safe for a bit longer. I'll gather more evidence. Then, when the moment's right, I'll expose them both. Let the world see their filth. Oscar nodded solemnly. I'm with you every step. Just don't let rage consume you. We do this smart. Tanner exhaled, the remains of heartbreak forging into an iron resolve. He recalled the moment he walked in on them intimately in that earlier scenario playing in his mind. But here the clarity was absolute. Melody was no victim. She was an active participant. They were not just having an affair, they were mocking him, plotting financial theft, capitalizing on Julius's uncanny resemblance. All illusions are gone, he murmured, standing by the window, gazing at the resort's twinkling lights below. They will pay for this. Chapter 5. Tanner woke before dawn in the Surfside Villa Resort's rented room, exhaustion etched into his bones. The events of the previous evening, the damning surveillance, witnessing Melody's intimate closeness with Julius, had played in an endless loop in his mind through fitful sleep. The knowledge that his wife was entwined with another man, especially one who bore an uncanny resemblance to himself, struck him as surreal. He sat up on the stiff bed, the early morning light creeping through the thin curtains. Oscar slept in a chair near the window, arms folded, having insisted on being there in case Tanner broke down or attempted an impulsive confrontation. The digital clock on the nightstand blinked 5:07 a.m. Tanner exhaled, recalling how he'd lain awake half the night, consumed by anger and heartbreak. His mind kept returning to the humiliating images, Melody's tender laughter, the affectionate touches she shared with that arrogant stranger. They're mocking me, he'd thought, fists clenching at midnight. And the audio revelations were even worse, plotting to siphon money, forging some twisted twin identity. Now, as the sky outside turned from indigo to faint orange, he felt an eerie calm wash over him. The shock had partly subsided. In its place came a cold, methodical resolve to strike back. He would not be the clueless husband they believed him to be. No, he'd gather further evidence, orchestrate the perfect moment, and reveal their betrayal in a way that left no doubt. He inhaled quietly, not wanting to wake Oscar yet. A warm sense of gratitude toward his best friend welled up. Oscar had been unwaveringly loyal, sacrificing comfort to help him. Pressing a hand to his chest, Tanner reminded himself, focus. The kids are safe with Aunt Mary Ann. He checked his phone. A text from Mary Ann at 2:15 a.m. read, "Kids asleep, all good. Don't worry about them." He typed a quick reply of thanks, feeling a flicker of relief. At least they're shielded from this madness. A subtle creak signaled Oscar stirring from his makeshift chair. He stretched, blinking at Tanner. "Morning," he rasped, voice groggy. Then his expression softened with concern. "How you holding up, man?" Tanner forced a brittle half-smile. "Surprisingly calm." Oscar nodded, rolling his stiff shoulders. "I'm glad. We got enough dirt on them last night to bury a small city. But I sense you want more." Tanner raked a hand through his hair. "They're planning a financial con involving me some inheritance or identity angle. I need to fully understand that scam before I take them down. Julius sees me as a naive obstacle. Melody, well, she's enabling him." Oscar grunted. "We can keep watching them another day if you want. We have this room booked till tomorrow." Tanner stood, pacing in the cramped space. The idea of capturing more incriminating evidence appealed to him, but an even stronger urge tugged at him. He wanted to confront them so badly. Yet a direct confrontation risked tipping Julius off. If Julius sensed a trap, he might destroy or hide documents, vanish with any stolen funds, or even do something rash. He sighed heavily. "Yes, we'll gather more. Then we'll slip out quietly. We can't let them know we were here." By 6:30 a.m., the corridor was mostly quiet, though occasional staff passed with fresh linens. Tanner and Oscar set up a rotating watch by the door's peephole and the disguised hallway camera. Paul, the digital forensics ally, stood by for any real-time phone intel. If Melody or Julius placed calls or texts, Paul could intercept. Oscar retrieved coffee and pastries from the lobby, returning with them in a paper bag. "Any movement?" Tanner shook his head, peering through the peephole. "None. The door's shut. They must still be asleep." Oscar handed Tanner a coffee. "Then we wait. If they go out again, we tail them. But we have to be stealthy." Tanner sipped the coffee, the bitterness matching his mood. A pang of guilt flickered. Is it morally right to spy? But the memory of Julius and Melody's betrayal hardened him. They had chosen deceit, so he had no remorse uncovering the truth. Around 8 a.m., their camera feed beeped softly motion at Suite 408. Melody stepped out in casual yoga pants, hair tied in a messy bun, phone in hand. She scanned the hallway cautiously, then hurried toward the elevator, presumably heading to the resort gym or breakfast area. Julius didn't appear behind her. Tanner's chest tightened. He glimpsed her face on the camera's small screen. She looked anxious, not the carefree, romantic woman from last night. He wondered if guilt was gnawing at her. She paused at the elevator, texting rapidly, then disappeared inside. Oscar watched silently. "You want to follow her?" Tanner breathed deeply. "Yes, but carefully. She might sense us. Let's just see if we can overhear any phone calls. She's obviously anxious about something." Oscar grabbed a baseball cap. "We'll do a split approach. I'll follow at a distance. You remain here to watch if Julius leaves. We keep each other updated." Tanner nodded, grateful for Oscar's level-headed approach. Oscar slipped out, wearing nondescript clothes, hat pulled low. He took a separate elevator down, hoping to find Melody in the lobby or cafe. Sure enough, he spotted her in the resort's small cafe lounge, ordering a smoothie. She looked over her shoulder frequently, as though worried about being followed. He carefully snapped a few pictures from behind a nearby potted plant. Then he inched closer, straining to catch her phone conversation. Melody's hushed voice. "Yes, I know last night was fine, but I'm concerned Tanner might suspect. Julius, you're overconfident. He's not that clueless." Oscar's heart pounded. She's talking to Julius, maybe, but no, the line was live. She was calling him? Or someone else? Her next words. "No, I can't just vanish forever. We have kids. He's bound to ask questions. This can't go on indefinitely." Oscar frowned. She sounded more anxious than love-struck. Perhaps the fling was messing with her conscience. He angled closer, nearly bumping a table. Melody cast a quick glance around but didn't spot him. She ended the call, sighed, took her smoothie, and headed to the gift shop. Oscar, deciding he had enough for now, texted Tanner. "She's alone, anxious, complaining about you suspecting. No sign she's leaving the resort yet? I'll keep watch." While Oscar tailed Melody, Tanner remained near their suite, scanning the hallway camera feed on a tablet. Sure enough, about 9 a.m., the door to 408 opened again. Julius stepped out, hair slicked back, wearing a crisp collared shirt, looking every bit the suave con man. He made a brief phone call in the hallway. Through the directional mic, Tanner heard snatches. "Julius. Yes. The funds are nearly in place. The wife? She's easy to manipulate once she believes the story. I just need her signature, right? Yes, the twin angle still holds." Tanner's blood boiled. He calls her the wife? Referring to my wife as if she's his spouse. The gall. Julius snapped his phone shut, glancing around warily. Then he proceeded to the elevator. Tanner realized with a chill that Julius was orchestrating some final steps to a con, possibly forging legal documents or transferring property. The snippet, "I just need her signature," rang ominously. Melody might be crucial to that. Fueled by indignation, Tanner considered following Julius, a chance to glean more info or even confront him. But the plan was to remain unseen. A direct confrontation might push Julius into flight or turn violent. He typed a quick message to Oscar. "Julius left the suite. Heading elevator, I'll tail him." Oscar replied instantly. "Careful. I'm near the lobby, can assist." Stepping out of the room, Tanner locked it behind him, heart racing. This was his first time face-to-face with Julius, up close. The memory of last night's glimpse, the man's uncanny similarity, haunted him, but he had to keep a low profile. Descending a different staircase, Tanner reached the lobby. He spotted Julius near the concierge desk, chatting with a uniformed staff member. He slowly circled, pretending to browse a rack of brochures. Julius asked the concierge about printing some important documents, likely business forms or real estate contracts. The concierge directed him to a small business center near the gift shop. Julius thanked them politely, that same confident smirk on display. Then he strode off. Tanner followed at a distance, slipping behind a large decorative pillar. Oscar emerged from the cafe hallway, meeting Tanner's gaze. In hushed tones, Oscar said, "Melody's in the gift shop next door. Julius is heading to the business center. They might cross paths soon." They decided to let Julius proceed. Maybe he'd slip up, talk about the scheme with someone, or produce papers with Melody's name. Peeking in from a glass partition, Tanner saw Julius approach a small printer room. He inserted a USB drive into a communal computer, typed a few things, then printed about a dozen sheets. At one point, he muttered, "Tanner's identity identical sign-off," though Tanner couldn't catch every word. Oscar recorded from behind a potted palm. The robust camera lens zoomed on the screen, capturing glimpses of text. "Power of attorney for Tabi. Joint ownership transfer. Signature line, Tanner Dawson." Tanner's pulse spiked. He's forging my signature on property documents, attempting a brazen identity theft. The betrayal soared to a new level. Julius quickly gathered the printed pages, glancing around. Then, seeing no one suspicious, he stuffed them into a folder. He left the business center, heading back toward the gift shop hallway. Tanner and Oscar discreetly followed. Right on cue, Melody stepped out of the gift shop, carrying a small bag. She spotted Julius, and for a moment they locked eyes. She flashed a tense smile, leaning in to whisper. He briefly handed her the folder. They exchanged hushed words. Oscar captured the scene from behind a kiosk, filming. Melody muttered, "You're sure this will work? I'm terrified if Tanner finds out." Julius put a reassuring arm around her waist. "He's clueless, or if he suspects, we'll handle him. Now sign these forms in a quiet spot. We finalize the real estate transaction tomorrow." She nodded, biting her lip. "Let's head back to the suite." They hurried off toward the elevators, Melody clinging to Julius as though seeking comfort. Tanner stood frozen, rage surging. She was actively forging or finalizing documents that could ruin him financially. He breathed shakily, forcing the anger down. "We have them now," he reminded himself. "We have enough to blow this wide open." Chapter 6. Back in their own rented suite, Tanner nearly punched the wall in frustration. Oscar had to calm him. "I get it, man. This is beyond cheating, it's identity fraud, conspiracy. We can't let them keep faking your signature." Tanner paced, voice trembling. "I want to barge into their suite right now, tear those documents up. But that could jeopardize the bigger takedown." Oscar nodded. "Yes, the smarter move is to let them sign or at least attempt it, then catch them red-handed. A sting operation, perhaps." They phoned the PI, who recommended contacting local law enforcement with evidence if they wanted immediate legal intervention. But they also recognized a direct police bust might not fully showcase Melody's betrayal publicly. Tanner wanted some personal, humiliating confrontation to ensure she felt the depth of her wrongdoing. He wrestled with the moral line. Was he purely seeking justice or revenge? The image of his children's trust propelled him forward. He needed to secure their future, not let Melody or Julius compromise it with fraudulent property transfers. Oscar stepped out to grab dinner in the resort's restaurant, leaving Tanner alone in the suite. He told Tanner to wait, stay incognito. But after half an hour of restless pacing, Tanner couldn't stand it. He felt an urge to see if Melody was walking about the corridors or heading to dinner with Julius. He quietly slipped into the hallway. Checking the small hallway camera feed on his phone, he saw no movement near 408. They might be signing documents inside, he mused. Then, unexpectedly, the suite door cracked open. Out stepped Melody alone, wearing the same casual outfit, folder clutched to her chest. She glanced around nervously, heading toward the elevator. Tanner's pulse hammered. This is my chance. He texted Oscar. Mel out of 408 alone. I'm trailing her. Be on standby. Melody moved swiftly, descending one floor, then exiting to a side corridor that led to an outdoor pool area. The moonlight shimmered across the water, lounge chairs empty at this hour. She slumped onto a chair, flipping through the folder's pages. Tanner crept behind a large planter, watching from a short distance, adrenaline spiking. She was reading those stolen or forged documents, presumably. He heard her murmur, God, what am I doing? I'm risking everything for him. The anguish in her voice caught Tanner off guard. She didn't sound purely triumphant, she sounded torn. He inched closer, phone camera recording. Melody rifled through pages, running a hand over her face in distress. Tanner doesn't deserve this, she whispered. But Julius, he promised so much. She pressed a pen to a line labeled Signature of Tanner Dawson. Her hand shook. She cursed softly. I can't replicate Tanner's signature. Julius has a sample. Maybe I'll let him do it. She stuffed the papers back, burying her face in her hands. Tanner's heart twisted painfully. She's aware of the harm, yet continuing. The betrayal is real. Overwhelmed, Tanner almost stepped forward to confront her. He pictured her stunned face, perhaps guilt-laden. But the plan required more finality. A meltdown might cause her to run to Julius, destroying or hiding the documents. He wanted them in official form, undeniable in a court of law. So he clenched his jaw, forced himself to remain hidden. She eventually rose, wiping her tears, then walked back inside, presumably heading to the suite or meeting Julius somewhere else. Tanner retreated, trembling with the swirl of heartbreak. She felt guilty, yet was determined to proceed. A twisted combination of love, greed, fear. He typed furiously to Oscar. I almost revealed myself, but we need more. She's forging my signature or letting Julius do it. We'll catch them in the act. Oscar returned to the suite with takeout, finding Tanner pacing. He handed over a container of grilled chicken, though Tanner's appetite was gone. Had eyes on Julius in the restaurant lounge, Oscar recounted. He was alone, sipping scotch, texting constantly, possibly waiting for Melody to finalize forms. Tanner nodded. So they're splitting tasks, he's forging or finalizing the real estate angle, she's roped in as well. We have audio, video, phone logs, everything. Oscar gently insisted he eat something. You need energy to keep a clear head. This is draining. Tanner forced down a few bites, mind still spinning. We can't let them slip away. Between monitoring Julius and Melody, Tanner checked his phone for messages from Aunt Mary Ann. The kids were well, having done homework, eaten dinner. They asked if Mom was back. Tanner felt tears sting. They're so innocent. He typed, Tell them I love them. Mom's out of town. She'll call them soon. Every time he thought of how Melody was ignoring them for Julius, his anger flared anew. Another reason to see this betrayal fully exposed. Close to midnight, the hallway camera signaled motion again. Julius stepped out of 408, Melody trailing him. She clutched the folder. They murmured about the business center or front desk fax. Possibly they needed to fax or scan the forged documents to an external partner. Tanner and Oscar hustled to watch from a vantage point near the elevator. Sure enough, the pair rode down, lightly touching each other's arms in a grotesque display of intimacy. They seemed giddy, though Melody occasionally looked around nervously. Julius whispered, Once we send these forms, we're set. By next week, we can finalize the property transfer. Then, we'll handle the next step, with your dear, unsuspecting husband. Melody's lip trembled. I hate lying to him, but I guess it's too late. Julius pressed a quick kiss to her forehead. Focus on our future, darling. Oscar filmed from behind a large potted fern. Tanner glowered, breath ragged. "We have them cornered," he muttered, voice laced with cold satisfaction. As Julius and Melody approached the business center, a resort security guard strolled by, checking after-hours usage. The guard politely greeted them. Julius flashed his smug smile, explaining they needed the scanning machine for urgent documents. The guard hesitated, since the business center often closed by 10 p.m., but Julius smoothly pulled out a folded bill, slipping it to the guard. "Just 5 minutes, friend," Julius said, voice dripping with confidence. "We're finalizing an overseas property for a charity venture." The guard pocketed the tip, nodding. "Sure, I'll give you some space. Just lock up when done." Oscar quietly recorded the bribery from a short distance, stifling a bitter chuckle. "He thinks money can solve everything." Julius and Melody entered the small room, lights flicking on. Tanner and Oscar tiptoed closer, pressing a small phone camera against the glass panel on the door. Through the gap, they watched Melody open the folder, aligning documents on the scanner bed. Julius typed on the computer, presumably emailing or faxing the scanned forms. The final blow came when they spoke about forging Tanner's signature. Julius: "Look, I traced his signature from that old check you gave me. We'll just digitally overlay it. This is standard in these circles." Melody, voice trembling: "But it's a crime. If he finds out—" Julius, low laughter: "He won't. And if he does, we'll blackmail him with some humiliating detail. Don't worry. Oscar's camera phone caught every word. Perfect proof of felony identity theft." Melody let out a shaky sigh, scanning a page titled "Special Power of Attorney T. Dawson." She pressed a button, sending the file. Julius typed an email address. Then they switched to another set of forms. Tanner's hands clenched on the phone, heart pounding. He had them. This was beyond an affair. They were criminals forging his identity. Once the pair finished, they left the business center, presumably returning to their suite. Tanner and Oscar pulled back, letting them pass. Then they stepped in, scanning the computer's history. Oscar, an adept rummager, quickly found a sent files directory. He used a USB stick to copy partial cached data of the attachments. It might help in legal prosecution. Returning to their room, they locked the door. Tanner collapsed in a chair, burying his face in his hands. "We have everything. Adultery, financial fraud, forging my signature. This is monstrous." Oscar placed a comforting hand on his shoulder. "We'll bury them, man. Legally, of course. You have more than enough to nuke their reputations and protect your assets. Possibly see them behind bars." Tanner exhaled shakily, a swirl of pain and triumph. "I'll protect my kids. That's my priority. Then I'll ensure Melody and Julius pay for this." Chapter 7. Before dawn broke, Tanner and Oscar swiftly packed their gear. They planned to slip out of the resort unnoticed, certain they'd captured more than enough evidence to crush Julius and Melody's scheme. The hallway was quiet, no sign of the treacherous lovers. Tanner paused at the corridor window, glancing down at the beach. A pang shot through him, recalling the times he'd fantasized about bringing Melody here for a romantic weekend. Now that dream lay in tatters, replaced by a bitter reality. He steeled himself, no time for sentiment. They quietly checked out, the front desk clerk none the wiser. Then they drove off in Oscar's car, the resort shrinking in the rearview mirror. Tanner fought the urge to look back. He had a mission, to finalize the plan that would end this betrayal for good. Returning to the city, they met with Marcia, the family law attorney, at her small office near downtown. Marcia listened, eyes widening at the new developments. Adultery, identity fraud, attempts to forge property documents. This is serious. Tanner placed a USB drive on her desk. "We have audio, video, screen captures, everything." Marcia exhaled. "This is enough to justify immediate protective orders for your finances, plus grounds for a devastating divorce suit if you choose. We can freeze accounts, block any property transfers. Also, the identity fraud might be a criminal matter." Oscar nodded. "We want maximum legal impact. Tanner's name and assets must be safe. Then we want them to face consequences." Marcia opened a file. "I can draft a swift petition. The judge might sign an emergency injunction preventing Melody from accessing joint accounts. Then you can approach law enforcement about Julius's forgery attempts." Tanner's expression hardened. "Yes, let's do it. I'll not let them cheat me or my kids out of our future." Marcia tapped her pen. "Also, custody of the kids. If Melody's engaged in fraudulent acts with a shady lover, that raises serious concerns about her fitness as a parent. We can file for sole custody or at least supervised visits if you want." Tanner hesitated, heart twisting. Melody was still the mother of his children, but she'd proven herself untrustworthy. "I want them safe. She left them behind after all. I can't rely on her anymore." Marcia nodded. "We can request an emergency custody hearing, citing her abrupt disappearance and criminal conspiracy." Oscar placed a supportive hand on Tanner's back. "Think of Sophie and Ryan. You can't let them be dragged into Julius's orbit." Tanner's voice trembled. "Yes, do it. Sole custody. I won't risk my kids with that man." Next, they visited the local police precinct, presenting the USB evidence to a detective named Reyes, recommended by Marcia. Detective Reyes, a middle-aged officer with a calm demeanor, watched the videos, eyebrows climbing higher with each damning snippet. "Wow," Reyes muttered, pausing on Julius's arrogant vow to handle Tanner. "This is big. Identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud, possibly more if they try to sign official documents. We can investigate. Does Melody also face charges, possibly as an accomplice?" Tanner swallowed. The thought of Melody facing criminal repercussions felt heavy, but he reminded himself she'd chosen this path. "Yes, I'm not seeking revenge for revenge's sake, but I want the law to protect me from her forging my signature." Reyes nodded. "We can't arrest them immediately based solely on these recordings. We need more direct proof they filed or executed these forged documents. But we can open an inquiry, possibly get a warrant to search Julius's property." Oscar piped in. "He's likely using shell companies. This might be bigger than we realize." Reyes scratched his chin. "All right, I'll start a file. Keep me updated if you discover more. Meanwhile, I advise you to freeze relevant accounts, secure your kids, and watch your back. Men like Julius can be dangerous." Tanner sighed, but a sense of relief flickered. Now it's official. Law enforcement is aware. That evening, Tanner returned to find Aunt Mary Ann entertaining the children in the backyard. The kids rushed him, arms outstretched, faces full of questions. "Dad, you're home," Sophie chirped. "Where's Mom? Did she call yet?" Tanner forced a smile, kneeling to their height. "No, not yet. She's busy." He tried to keep his voice steady, burying the heartbreak. "But I missed you both," Ryan pouted. "I want Mom to read me stories again. She promised." Tanner's chest tightened. "I know, buddy. I'll read you a story tonight." Mary Ann gave him a sympathetic look. Once the kids were playing again, she quietly asked, "Any progress on finding Melody?" Tanner nodded curtly. "I know where she is. She'll come back eventually, but things are complicated." Mary Ann sighed. "Well, the kids sense something's off. Just be honest if they keep pushing." He thanked her, then prepared dinner, trying to exude calm. Inside, he seethed that Melody's betrayal forced him into single parenting with zero help from her. Late that night, as the children slept, Tanner heard his phone buzz. A text from Melody. "Tanner, I'm sorry I've been gone. I'll come home tomorrow or the next day. I need to talk. Please don't do anything rash." He stared at the screen, anger rising. Don't do anything rash? That nerve. She was the one forging documents and sleeping with a con man. He typed a reply, carefully measured. "We'll talk only if you come clean. I already know about you and Julius. Your days of lying are over." A long pause, then she responded. "I can explain. Just wait." He tossed the phone aside, not bothering to continue. Her excuses would fall on deaf ears. The next morning, Oscar visited the house, bringing donuts for the kids. The children squealed in delight, devouring sugary rings. Then they ran outside to play. Oscar pulled Tanner aside. "Paul's digging deeper into Julius's financials. We might have a lead on a bigger scam. Also, the detective is leaning toward a search warrant soon." Tanner nodded. "Let me guess, lots of shell corporations. Attempts to claim some mysterious inheritance by impersonating me or forging my name." Oscar smirked. "Yes, exactly. He's a pro at forging official documents. That's how he probably roped Melody in promising her big payouts if she plays along." Tanner's expression hardened. "She must have known it was illegal." "She's not ignorant." Oscar shrugged sadly. "Greed or misguided love. Hard to say. Either way, we corner them." That afternoon, Tanner's phone rang an unknown number. Expecting another random threat, he answered with caution. A low, self-assured voice spoke. "Tanner, I believe it's time we talk like men." Tanner's heart pounded. "Julius, I presume?" A soft chuckle. "Impressive? You guessed? Must be that we share a certain bond." Tanner bit back anger. "Cut the crap! Why are you calling?" Julius exhaled theatrically. "Melody's worried you'll escalate. I wanted to set the record straight. You can't stop what's coming. If you try, you'll only humiliate yourself." Tanner inhaled slowly, reminding himself not to blow up. "I know about your forgery, the twin scam, everything. Don't underestimate me." A brief silence. Then Julius laughed, low and smug. "Oh, you're so sure. Then do your worst, dear brother. I have powerful connections." He ended the call abruptly, leaving Tanner seething. Oscar, who'd overheard from across the kitchen, asked, "What did he say?" Tanner recounted it, trembling with fury. "He has the gall to call me brother. It's like he's mocking my identity." That evening, a text from Melody arrived. "I'm coming back tomorrow morning. We need to discuss everything. Please, be calm." Tanner gazed at those words, torn between anger and a faint dread. The confrontation was imminent. Should he let her waltz in, feign remorse, and attempt to salvage her plan, or should he ambush her with the evidence? He texted Oscar. "She says she's returning tomorrow. Time to set the stage." Oscar replied, "I'll be there. We'll have cameras ready if you want to record her confession, or we can keep it private. Your call." Tanner typed, hands shaking slightly. "I want proof of her betrayal in her own words. Let's do it discreetly. Then we finalize the legal nuke." At midnight, Tanner couldn't sleep. He sat on the couch, eyes on the family photos displayed on a bookshelf. One photo showed him and Melody on their wedding day, beaming with youthful optimism. Another featured the kids as toddlers, giggling in a park. The memories were poignant, reminding him of the life they built. Now, it threatened to collapse under her betrayal. He squared his shoulders, reaffirming his resolve. She'd chosen deception with a man who wanted to rob him of finances, identity, and dignity. He'd meet her calmly, present the evidence, watch her squirm, then unleash the divorce and possible criminal charges. The children's future was his priority, not saving a broken marriage. He stood, flicking off the lamp. Tomorrow, Melody would return to face the truth. And he'd be ready, hardened by heartbreak, armed with evidence, and determined to protect what remained of his family from her ruinous choices. Chapter 8. Sunrise found Tanner seated at the kitchen table, hands clasped. He'd woken early, tidied the living room, and almost mechanical activity to calm his nerves. The children still slept, snuggled in their rooms. He guessed Melody might slip in quietly. She'd texted a single line around 6 a.m. "I'll be there soon." Oscar was parked discreetly down the street, ready in case of fireworks. Tanner also had a small voice recorder in his pocket, set to capture Melody's confessions or excuses. He wanted her words on record, no ambiguity. At 6:40 a.m., the doorknob rattled. Tanner's chest tightened. The door swung open. Melody entered, hair slightly disheveled, a duffel bag slung over her shoulder. She paused upon seeing him in the kitchen, her eyes wide with tension. "Hi," she managed softly. He said nothing, just studied her. She set the bag down, stepping forward, hands wringing. I'm sorry for vanishing," Tanner forced calm. "Where were you?" A flicker of alarm crossed her face. "Out of town, handling some personal things." She didn't specify. He gestured to the dining table. "Sit." Melody lowered herself into a chair, eyes darting to the silent house. "Where are the kids?" "Asleep," he said curtly. "They've been worried about you. Care to explain why you left them for days?" She swallowed. I couldn't face you or them. I was overwhelmed." Tanner's jaw tightened. "You mean you were with your lover Julius forging documents to steal from me?" Her face went pale. "What? No, that's crazy. Who told you such nonsense?" He tapped his phone, eyes cold. "I have recordings, photos, everything. Don't lie to me." She stiffened, tears filling her eyes. "Tanner, it's not what you think. Julius said we'd benefit. It's complicated. I was in a bad headspace and—" He barked a short laugh, bitterness lacing his tone. "Benefit from forging my signature on property transfers, right? You left the kids behind for him?" She leaned forward, trembling. "Yes, I was wrong. He promised me financial security, a chance to, I don't know, feel alive again." Tanner's heart wrenched with a mix of fury and sorrow. "You felt alive betraying your family? Sleeping with a con man who looks exactly like me?" Melody buried her face in her hands, sobbing. "You have no idea how lonely I felt. You were always at the clinic. The kids needed so much, I lost track of myself. Julius offered excitement, said he was your twin or something, and I fell for it." Tanner tried to keep his voice low so as not to wake the children. "I want the truth. Every detail. Was he blackmailing you? Or did you willingly help him?" She wept quietly. "At first, he claimed to be your long-lost twin wanting to connect with you. He flattered me, said he admired my dedication, that he'd help us financially. I was naive, yes. Then it got physical. I was confused, but also drawn to him. I know it's disgusting, but that's what happened." Tanner's stomach churned. "So you kept me in the dark while you two plotted a property scam?" She nodded miserably. "He said your name on certain deeds would unlock an inheritance if he showed two twins signing. I let it happen, rationalizing we'd both profit. I never thought it'd go this far." He inhaled sharply, fists shaking. "You intended to vanish with him after forging my signature or force me to sign unknowingly?" She sniffled. "He wanted me to slip documents into your routine paperwork so you'd sign them absent-mindedly. I felt guilty, but I let him talk me into it." Tanner's face hardened. "You realize you endangered everything, including the kids' stability. Did you even consider them?" She let out a ragged sob. I tried. But Julius said once we had the money, we'd have a better life, that the kids would be spoiled with wealth. I was foolish. I'm sorry. He glared. Don't you dare talk about the kids' best interest. They missed you, asked about you every day. Meanwhile, you were in a fancy resort bed. She cried harder, voice hitching. I know. I'm a horrible mother, but please, I never wanted to hurt them. I was trapped in Julius's manipulations. I swear. He let silence fill the air, her sobs echoing. After a moment, he spoke in a controlled, icy tone. Whether you were manipulated or not, you made your choice. I have all the proof. I'm going to freeze the accounts, protect the kids, and file for divorce. If Julius tries to push his con further, I'll ensure the police bury him in charges. She looked up, eyes red. Divorce? Tanner, we can fix this. I love you, I do. I was just lost. Let me show you I can change. A wry laugh escaped him, guttural with heartbreak. Change? You literally forged documents behind my back. You mocked me with that man. You left the kids in the dust. There's no fixing that. She trembled, latching on to the table edge. Please. I'll break it off with Julius. I'll do anything. Just let me come home. He stared at her with a strange mix of pity and disgust. The home you abandoned is no longer yours to claim. Pack your essentials. I want you out. I'll let the court handle custody, but for now, you're not staying under this roof. She shook her head, tears dripping onto her shirt. Where do I go? Julius might turn on me if I betray him. Tanner's jaw clenched. That's your problem. You put yourself in his orbit. If you're afraid, cooperate with the police, or go to your sister, Tasha. But you're not living here. She swallowed, seeming to realize there was no sympathy left in him. Can I at least see the kids before I go? He considered. The kids were still asleep, maybe a quick goodbye. But he felt hesitant about her influence. Finally, he nodded curtly. You can say a brief goodbye. Then you leave. She nodded, tears streaming anew. Thank you, Tanner. I'm so sorry. Melody tiptoed to Sophie's and Ryan's rooms, tears in her eyes. Tanner stayed close behind, ensuring no manipulative nonsense was whispered. She gently woke them, hugging them as they blinked, surprised to see her. Mommy's back, Sophie exclaimed, hugging her mother's neck. Are you staying? Melody's voice cracked. No, sweetie, not right now. I have to handle some grown-up problems. Ryan pouted. But I want you here. Why do you keep leaving? A pang of guilt twisted Melody's face. I love you both so much. I'm sorry for confusing you. I'll see you soon, okay? Tanner's stomach tightened, witnessing the heartbreak on the kids' faces, but he maintained a stoic front, refusing to let Melody spin illusions. She kissed their foreheads, tears spilling. Then she rose, avoiding Tanner's gaze. The children, sleepy and upset, clung to him as she retreated. Back in the living room, Melody grabbed a small suitcase she'd left behind previously. Tanner handed her phone, which he found on the kitchen counter. She'd apparently replaced it with a new one for Julius's scheme. She paused at the door. I know you despise me now, but I want you to know my love for the kids was real. My regret is real. If you ever find it in your heart to ID, Tanner cut her off, voice steely. Don't. Just go. The lawyers will handle the rest. Without another word, Melody stepped outside, and the door clicked shut. Tanner felt an overwhelming mixture of sorrow and fury. He let out a shaky breath, then sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. She was gone again, but this time, on his terms. Minutes later, Oscar arrived, having waited for a signal. He found Tanner sitting in the living room, staring at nothing. So, she came? Tanner nodded, eyes bleak. She's gone now. Packed a suitcase. I told her I'm filing for divorce. Oscar exhaled. I'm sorry, man. This must be brutal. Tanner's jaw tightened. Brutal or not, it's necessary. She admitted to forging docs, planning to help Julius con me. She tried to apologize, but it's worthless. Oscar patted his shoulder. Then let's proceed with the legal meltdown. We have enough evidence to freeze everything. Julius will find no open door to your finances. Tanner rubbed his temples. Yes, let's do it. I can't let them keep an edge. They contacted Marcia, the family law attorney, finalizing the divorce petition on grounds of adultery, fraud, and moral abandonment. Meanwhile, they readied the identity theft evidence for the detective, ensuring a strong criminal case. Oscar posed a final strategic question. Do we also plan a public humiliation for Julius, or keep it purely legal? Tanner's eyes glinted with cold resolve. I want him humiliated. He aimed to strip me of dignity, finances, identity. Let him experience that. But first, let the courts handle the freeze. Then we'll drop the affair bomb publicly if needed. Oscar nodded. All right. We'll be careful. We want to avoid harming your kids more than necessary. But we can't let Julius quietly vanish either. Tanner closed his eyes, feeling the weight of heartbreak recede slightly, replaced by the quiet power of a man certain of his course. Yes, the kids come first. Julius and Melody can face the consequences. No mercy left here. Chapter 9. Days passed in a whirlwind of legal maneuvers. Marcia filed an emergency motion to freeze all joint bank accounts, credit lines, and property deeds in Tanner's name. She attached the damning video and audio transcripts proving Melody and Julius's conspiracy. The judge, appalled by the brazen forging attempts, swiftly granted the injunction. Simultaneously, the detective Reyes took the evidence to a local prosecutor for potential criminal charges. Julius, upon learning of the freeze, presumably through Melody or his own checks, tried calling Tanner's phone repeatedly, but Tanner blocked the number. Meanwhile, local news outlets began buzzing with rumors of a scandal. Prominent con man using twin identity to scam Florida father? The story wasn't fully public yet, but the hints of a bizarre cheating scandal and identity theft stoked interest. Tanner read a snippet online, lips curling in satisfaction. This is only the beginning. Though Tanner shielded them from explicit details, Sophie and Ryan sensed the shift. Melody no longer visited or called as frequently. They asked him repeatedly if Mom was okay. He gave gentle half-truths. She's dealing with mistakes she made. We'll figure it out. To provide emotional stability, he kept them busy with after-school activities, ensuring family dinners with Aunt Marianne, who gave them the nurturing warmth Melody had neglected. Over time, they adjusted, though an undercurrent of sadness lingered. Sometimes, at night, Ryan asked, Dad, do you still love Mom? Tanner struggled, answering softly. I'll always care for her as your mom, but we're not staying together. It broke his heart to see Ryan's tears, but he remained steadfast, refusing to let Melody's betrayal damage the kids further. One afternoon, Oscar rushed into Tanner's clinic office, brandishing papers. Dude, you won't believe what I found. Tanner locked the door, letting Oscar speak in private. Oscar explained, Paul, the digital forensics guy, discovered that Julius has a string of prior scams in different states. He changes his last name frequently. He once pretended to be a wealthy heir in California, seduced a widow, drained her accounts. Tanner's fists clenched. So he's a serial con artist. That means he's skilled at vanishing if cornered. Oscar nodded gravely. Yes, but we have a big advantage. He literally can't replicate your face unless he physically tries. That might be why he latched on to Melody using her knowledge of your personal details. The twin charade was pure fiction, but disturbingly effective. Tanner's lips curled in disgust. He nearly got away with forging my name for a property deal. But now, the accounts are frozen, so hopefully that stops him. Oscar gave a reassuring pat. He's cornered, man, and the cops are building a case. Let him squirm. Tasha, Melody's sister, called Tanner to apologize. I suspected an affair, but not this insane level of scamming. I'm so sorry. I tried talking sense into Mel, but she wouldn't listen. Tanner sighed, appreciating her concern. It's not your fault. She made her own choices. Tasha's voice trembled. Is it true she's facing legal trouble? She might be served if the forging attempts get pinned on her, right? Possibly, Tanner admitted. If she cooperates with the police, they might show leniency. Tasha was silent a moment. I hope she does the right thing. She texted me, said she's terrified Julius might retaliate if she betrays him. She's stuck. Tanner felt a flicker of pity, overshadowed by resentment. She created this mess. I hope she's strong enough to break from him. That same evening, while Tanner was making dinner for the kids, his phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number. He answered carefully. Melody's shaky voice greeted him. Tanner, it's me. I had to use a new phone. Julius is furious about the freeze. He's lashing out, says I betrayed him. Tanner exhaled. You did betray him, or me, or both, she sobbed. Both, I guess. But now I realize how twisted he is. He threatened me, said if I don't help unfreeze the accounts, he'll ruin my life. I don't know what to do. A wave of anger flared. You're calling me for sympathy? After you plotted with him to defraud me? She begged softly. I'm sorry. He's more dangerous than I thought. I can't go home, someone might follow me. I might be forced to keep forging. Please, help me. Tanner's mouth twisted. Part of him wanted to hang up. Another part recognized she might become a valuable witness against Julius. If you're scared, talk to the detective. Cooperate fully and you might get protection. Don't expect me to shield you unless you're honest. She sniffed. I'll do it. Just I want you to know I never stopped caring about you or the kids. He responded coldly. You have a strange way of showing it. Then he ended the call. Later, Tanner recounted Melody's call to Oscar. Oscar frowned. She's freaking out because Julius turned on her. Typical con man maneuver, blame the partner, isolate them. Tanner nodded. If she sincerely flips on him, it could accelerate his downfall, but can I trust her? Oscar sighed. Likely not. But if the cops see her as a cooperating witness, that's good for your case. They recognized a moral dilemma. Did they want Melody to face jail or to assist law enforcement in nailing Julius? For Tanner, ensuring Julius faced maximum consequences overshadowed any mercy for Melody, but her cooperation might help finalize the criminal angle swiftly. Meanwhile, the family court scheduled a preliminary custody hearing in 2 weeks. Melody was contesting the no visitation approach, presumably under pressure from her lawyer. She claimed she deserved partial custody, insisting she was still the mother. Tanner, bolstered by the affair evidence, aimed for sole custody. He argued Melody's involvement with a known fraudster endangered the children's emotional well-being. She abandoned them once. Who's to say she won't do it again? Marcia assured him they had a strong position, especially given the forging attempts. A judge won't look kindly on a mother who participated in defrauding her husband. Still, the thought of a courtroom standoff weighed on Tanner's heart. The kids will eventually learn why their mom left. One afternoon, Reyes called with excitement. We've uncovered more details about Julius. He was linked to a prior case in Georgia, forging a spouse's signature for real estate. If we can get your statement and Melody's cooperation, we can issue a warrant. He might try to run. Tanner's pulse raced. I'll come in, sign whatever. But you need Melody's side too, right? Reyes confirmed. Yes, she's a crucial witness. If she fears him, we can offer protective measures, maybe lighten her legal exposure. Tanner nodded grimly. She might do it, given how he's threatened her. I'll let her know if she contacts me again. As the net closed in on Julius, Tanner and Oscar refined their plan for a final blow. They considered a public humiliation like inviting close friends, family, maybe even business associates to watch the video of Julius's confessions. But Ms. Waverly cautioned them about privacy concerns and potential defamation suits if they weren't careful. In the end, Tanner decided the best route was letting the legal process handle the main punishment, while ensuring close relatives and friends learned of Melody's betrayal. That alone would deliver social consequences. If Julius tried any more stunts, they'd release more footage. Oscar told him, "A controlled approach is best. We don't want to traumatize your kids with a big public scandal, just enough so he can't hide." Tanner nodded, lips a tight line. "Agreed. I'll settle for a thorough legal and personal downfall. No tabloids needed." That night, after the kids fell asleep, Tanner sat on the living room couch, flipping through the carefully curated evidence. The affair photos, the hush recordings, the scanned, forged documents. Each piece stung like salt in a wound, reminding him how deeply Melody had betrayed him. But each also fortified his resolve. She and Julius wouldn't walk away unscathed. He scrolled old family photos on his phone, times when Melody seemed so content, the kids between them, laughter genuine. Now that laughter was drowned by her sighs in a resort bed with a con man. A tear threatened to fall, but he blinked it away, eyes hardening. The children needed a stable father. He would be that father, unwavering, protective, cunning, if necessary. Rereading Melody's last text, "He's dangerous. I need help." He whispered to the quiet house, "You should have thought of that before you sold our love for illusions." Tomorrow, he'd set in motion the final steps. The detective, the attorneys, the family court. The betrayal was nearly at its climax. Soon, Julius and Melody would face the full force of consequences. Chapter 10. In the hush of early morning, Tanner sat in the living room, reading the final draft of his divorce petition. Marcia, his family law attorney, had spent late nights perfecting the language: adultery, conspiracy, fraud. Each term hammered home the bleak truth that his wife Melody was intimately involved with a man named Julius, who sought to usurp Tanner's identity for a twisted property scam. He closed the binder, inhaling a steadying breath. The children still slept upstairs, oblivious to the swirling storm. He listened to the soft hum of the AC, the faint chirp of birds outside. Here I am, he thought, on the brink of shattering my marriage in court. Yet it's Melody who shattered us first. Recalling the nights he'd spent at the Surfside Villa Resort, collecting evidence with Oscar, still made his stomach churn. The images of Melody's tender embraces with Julius tormented him, fueling his vow to see justice done. He heard a knock at the front door Oscar's code, a gentle rap. Tanner rose and opened it. Oscar slipped inside, a quick nod, carrying a Togo tray of coffees. "Morning," Oscar said softly. "Figured you could use caffeine. Big day, huh?" Tanner nodded, taking one of the steaming cups. "You're reading my mind. The hearing for the emergency custody order is in a few hours, and the detectives want me to finalize statements for pressing charges." They settled at the kitchen table. Oscar gave him a once-over. "How you holding up? Not every day you decide to press criminal charges that might implicate your wife." Tanner swallowed. "She forced my hand. She let Julius manipulate her into forging my signature, risking the kid's future. I can't let that slide." Oscar leaned forward. "You're sure she's back in town? Heard anything else from her after that meltdown call?" Tanner's jaw tightened. "She texted once. Said she'd stay in a motel for now. That she'd see me in court. She's terrified of Julius, but not enough to fully come clean yet. Oscar exhaled, tapping the table. Well, we have enough evidence to bury them both, her for complicity, him for being the mastermind. Are you sure you want to push Melody so far she might face jail time? Tanner's eyes flashed. She brought that on herself. If she flips and cooperates with the cops against Julius, maybe she'll get leniency. That's up to her. He took a sip of coffee, forcing the bitterness down. His mind flicked to the children. How will they react if Mom ends up behind bars? A pang of guilt threatened. Then he recalled the tears in Sophie's eyes, the confusion in Ryan's questions. Melody had abandoned them, period. She dug this grave. The morning passed in a blur of final prep. By 10 a.m., Tanner and Oscar arrived at the courthouse for the custody hearing. The place bustled with lawyers, clerks, anxious families. Tanner's stomach knotted, but he kept his face composed. He wore a tailored suit, practical, in dark navy, projecting calm confidence. Marcia greeted them in the hallway, handing Tanner some updated paperwork. We just got wind that Melody hired a new attorney. Young, fairly inexperienced. They'll likely try to argue she's being coerced by Julius and deserves partial custody. Don't worry, we've got a mountain of evidence. Tanner nodded. Let them talk. I'm done with illusions. They entered the family courtroom. Rows of benches faced the judge's elevated seat. Melody stood near the front, eyes puffy with apparent sleepless nights. Her new lawyer, a woman named Denise Klein, whispered urgently to her. Melody fiddled with her hands, darting glances at Tanner, who stared back with an unreadable expression. The bailiff called the case. The judge, a stern woman in her early 50s, took her seat. Case number 3178, Dawson versus Dawson regarding emergency custody and protective orders. She surveyed the parties. Let's proceed. Marcia started, presenting the main arguments. The affair, the forging scheme, the abrupt abandonment of the children. She introduced partial transcripts of Julius's threats, plus video stills of Melody in a romantic setting with him. The judge's brow creased as each exhibit was shown. When it was Denise Klein's turn, she tried a sympathetic approach. Your Honor, my client, Melody Dawson, acknowledges an extramarital entanglement, but insists she was coerced by Julius, who is a known con man. She was vulnerable, manipulated, and now regrets her actions deeply. She remains a devoted mother. The judge's gaze sharpened. Devoted mother doesn't vanish for days with no contact, Ms. Klein. Denise swallowed. She was overwhelmed, frightened. She begs the court for partial custody to maintain a maternal bond with her children. Marcia interjected, referencing the forging attempts, the possibility Melody conspired in property fraud. She stressed how that indicated a willingness to endanger the children's financial security. Tanner watched Melody's face. She stared at her feet, tears slipping down her cheeks. Even now, some part of him pitied her. But the overriding sense was betrayal. The judge requested Tanner's direct testimony. He rose, approached the stand, taking a seat. After affirming he'd tell the truth, Marcia guided his recounting. How he discovered suspicious charges, phone logs, culminating in the undercover trip to Surfside Villa Resort. He described seeing Melody and Julius intimately, capturing their discussion about forging his signature. His voice trembled at moments, especially describing how the children woke each morning wondering if Mommy would come home. But he kept calm, projecting sincerity. Denise tried to cross-examine. Mr. Dawson, did you not also fail to communicate with Melody about her emotional needs? Might she have felt neglected? He clenched his teeth. We had normal marital ups and downs, but she never indicated anything so severe. She made her own choice to cheat and to commit fraud. That's not mere emotional need. The judge seemed to accept this, given the overwhelming evidence. Then Melody took the stand, trembling. She tearfully admitted an affair with Julius, painted him as manipulative, claiming he threatened to harm her if she didn't cooperate in forging documents. She insisted she never wanted to hurt her children, she just got trapped. Marcia pressed her. Why not contact the police or your husband if you were threatened? Why continue meeting Julius at expensive resorts? Melody stammered. He convinced me it would all be a short-term scheme. I was ashamed. I thought maybe it would end soon and I'd come back. The judge raised an eyebrow. So you parted from your children, aided a known con man, and only now express regret? Melody broke down, whispering, I was weak, Your Honor. I lost my way. I do love my kids. After hearing both sides, the judge conferred with existing evidence. Within minutes, she delivered a stern pronouncement. Temporary sole legal and physical custody granted to Tanner. Melody could request supervised visits contingent on not associating with Julius. All marital finances remain frozen, subject to ongoing civil criminal investigations. Tanner felt relief wash over him, though sorrow pricked at him seeing Melody sobbing, shoulders slumped. The bailiff signaled them to exit. Oscar whispered, Phase 1 complete. You have the kids secure. Tanner exhaled shakily. Yes. Now to handle Julius. Outside the courtroom, Melody approached Tanner. Her eyes brimmed with tears. Tanner, please, can we talk without lawyers? Just a minute? He studied her, recalling the love that once bound them. Finally, he nodded curtly. 1 minute. No more. She pulled him aside to a quiet alcove. I'm sorry, she said, voice trembling. I was stupid, greedy, lonely. Julius made me feel alive. But I see, now it was a sham. I never meant for it to go so far. Tanner's voice was cold. Yet you went along with forging my signature, planning to uproot my finances. That's not a minor slip. Tears slid down her cheeks. I know. I'll cooperate with the detective. If that means testifying against Julius, I will. Just let me see the kids eventually. He softened slightly, remembering the children's bond with their mother. The judge gave you an opening for supervised visitation. Earn it by telling the cops everything. If you do that, maybe we can keep the kids from hating you. She nodded, tears shimmering. Thank you. He turned away, heart battered. She'd chosen her path, and now she faced the wreckage. Later that day, as Tanner drove home with Oscar, a text arrived from an unknown number. You think you've won, but I hold the real cards. I can ruin your reputation if you push me. Jay. Tanner read it aloud, his grip on the steering wheel tightening. He's threatening me again? Oscar frowned. Let him try. We have loads of evidence. The net is closing in on him. They forwarded the message to Detective Reyes, who replied, We'll add it to harassment threats. Proceed carefully. Tanner pressed down, the sense of dread. Julius was cornered. Dangerous animals lash out when trapped. But Tanner refused to cower. This twist can add new dimension. Irene is a friend or co-worker from the clinic or an extended social circle who steps in as a new character to help with data analysis, forming potential romance or a strong ally. If not needed, skip. If we are to add new characters and twists, let's include Irene, an IT specialist friend of Oscar's who can help with unmasking Julius. That evening, Oscar introduced Tanner to Irene, an IT wizard from his college days. She offered to do a deep dive into Julius's digital footprint, unearthing new shell companies. She found suspicious wire transfers to unknown accounts abroad. Over coffee in Tanner's living room, Irene explained with a bright, non-nonsense tone, he's definitely pulling an elaborate con. Once the police see these transactions, a warrant for arrest is almost guaranteed. Tanner felt a flicker of hope. Then let's bury him. I want him behind bars. Or at least forced to run so he leaves us alone. Irene gave a small smile. Count on it. This guy's an amateur at covering his tracks compared to real hackers. With Melody seemingly ready to cooperate, Detective Reyes hinted they could stage a sting operation. If Julius arranged a final meet to sign any leftover forged documents, they could catch him in the act. Melody hesitated, fearing Julius's retaliation, but with legal pressure mounting, she agreed to help under police supervision. Tanner faced a swirl of emotions about letting Melody bait Julius, but the detective insisted it would ensure an ironclad case. So, culminating in the next days, they planned for a concealed location, possibly a notary office or real estate agent's place, where Julius expected to finalize the property con. The police would lie in wait, with Melody wearing a wire. Thus, the final confrontation loomed, one that could see Julius arrested in real time, his illusions shattered. And Tanner, though part of him yearned to personally humiliate Julius, recognized the law's method might be the surest route to permanent retribution. Chapter 11. The following week, tension crackled like static in the air. Detective Reyes collaborated with Melody under a carefully orchestrated plan. She'd contact Julius, claim she found a safe notary willing to overlook some details, and they could finalize the twin identity inheritance property forms. Melody, trembling, made the call in front of Reyes, speaking lines the detective coached. "Julius, I have it set. The notary's hush-hush. We just need your brother's ID, or rather, your twin's signature. I can handle that if you bring the doc. Meet me at 11 a.m. tomorrow at Redwood Office Park, Suite 2B. Julius took the bait. Over the phone, he sounded triumphant. "I knew you wouldn't fail me, darling." He promised to show up with the forged docs. The plan. Redwood Office Park was vacant, except for one unit the police had discreetly rented. They'd set up hidden cameras with detectives posing as office staff. Melody would arrive as if eager to proceed, and once Julius produced the incriminating papers, they'd swoop in, arresting him for fraud, identity theft, plus harassment and threats. Tanner was on standby, waiting at a nearby cafe with Oscar. He had mixed feelings about witnessing the arrest. Part of him wanted front-row seats to see Julius's downfall. The detective suggested he remain off-site to avoid complicating the sting. "He wanted me to let Melody do this alone," Tanner mused, "but I might appear if needed." That morning, the sky was overcast, matching Tanner's tense mood. He dropped the children at school with forced cheer, hugging them tighter than usual. They sensed something big loomed, but he gave them no details, just a reassuring smile. Then he joined Oscar at a small cafe near Redwood Office Park. Through his phone, he had a direct line to Detective Reyes, who promised updates. They sipped coffee, neither tasting it, both scanning the road outside. Oscar attempted a half smile. "This is it, man. After today, Julius might be in handcuffs. Melody's illusions will collapse." Tanner nodded, heart racing. "Yes, and I can finally breathe." In a back corner of his mind, he also recognized that if Melody's cooperation sealed Julius's fate, she might be spared harsher charges. Another wave of mixed emotion rose. Did he want her locked up, or did he want her just to lose him forever? That moral nuance tugged at him, but the children's future overshadowed it. At Redwood Office Park, Melody arrived around 10:45 a.m., fidgety and pale. Two plainclothes officers greeted her, leading her to Suite 2B, an empty office furnished with a fake desk and chairs. A hidden camera was embedded in a potted plant. Another officer, disguised as a notary, waited behind the desk. Melody wore a wire under her blouse, a tiny microphone taped to her ribcage. Her heart hammered so loudly she worried it might drown out any conversation. She sat in the staging area, crossing her legs anxiously, rechecking the folder of documents Julius had forced on her. The detective reminded her calmly, "Once he presents forged signatures or demands you sign on Tanner's behalf, that's enough. We move in." She swallowed, nodding. A wave of guilt hit. She was about to betray Julius, the man she once thought she loved, but he had threatened her, threatened to unravel her life. She realized Tanner had never done that, never used intimidation. She silently cursed her own stupidity. At 11:05 a.m., the building's security camera caught Julius stepping off the elevator on the second floor. He wore a sleek suit, hair neatly styled, a swagger in his stride. He clutched a slim briefcase. Approaching Suite 2B, he paused, scanning the hallway for suspicious signs. Seeing none, just neutral walls and a notary services sign, he smirked and went inside. Melody stood by the small window. Julius's eyes lit up with that same smug grin. "My dear, good job." He kissed her cheek lightly. She forced a tense smile, every nerve screaming. He turned to the disguised notary, actually Detective Reyes's colleague. "We're here for some routine signatures. My twin brother can't be present, but we have power of attorney, no questions asked, right?" The notary shrugged, playing along. "I just witnessed signatures, sir. Privacy is paramount." Julius placed the briefcase on the desk, flipping it open. Inside lay neatly arranged documents, multiple pages detailing property transfers, referencing Tanner Dawson as a co-signer or co-owner. The notary gave a polite nod, gesturing to a seat. Melody perched on the chair, biting her lower lip. Julius explained softly, "So, we just need your signature, where it says Melody Dawson, acting under proxy for Tanner Dawson. Then we finalize it with the notary seal, quick and simple." Melody's throat felt parched. Her eyes flicked to the hidden camera in the corner. "Keep him talking," she reminded herself. "Are you sure we won't face trouble? My husband doesn't know." Julius scoffed. "He's a nobody. If he tries anything, we have enough dirt to keep him quiet." The detective listened from a nearby observation van, the wire transmitting everything. A second disguised officer in the building's hallway prepared to converge once Julius incriminated himself. Julius leaned closer to Melody, hand resting lightly on her shoulder, voice dripping with arrogance. "Sign here as if you're authorized by Tanner. That's our story. This signature," he pointed to a pre-printed scrawl resembling Tanner's name, "will stand in the official record. The property is ours. Then we can flip it, pocket the profits, and vanish." Melody's stomach churned. "We're forging his name, Julius. That's a felony." He chuckled, low and dismissive. "Relax, darling. Once the deed is done, your husband's too spineless to press charges. Or if he tries, I'll leak all the juicy affair details, humiliate him. He'll fold." That was it, the final piece. He'd threatened blackmail, confirmed forging. The detective's plan signaled them to wait a moment longer to ensure no doubt. Melody forced a shaky smile, picking up a pen. "All right, if you say so." Suddenly, the notary coughed pointedly, giving a subtle signal. The suite door burst open, multiple officers flooding in, guns holstered but ready. Detective Reyes strode forward, badge displayed. "Police! Hands where we can see them!" Julius froze, eyes wide with shock, quickly replaced by fury. "What the hell is this?" He scrambled to close the briefcase, but an officer grabbed his arm. Another officer secured the documents from the desk. Melody leapt up, stepping aside, tears brimming. She stared at Julius with a mixture of regret and relief. The notary officer removed his disguise, brandishing the real badge. "You're under investigation for fraud, forgery, conspiracy." Julius let out a snarl, attempting to yank free. "This is entrapment!" Reyes shook his head. We have ample evidence, plus witness testimony from Ms. Dawson. You threatened her husband, you attempted to sign property under false identity. You're done. Julius shot Melody a poisonous glare. You set me up! She trembled, voice cracking. You gave me no choice. The officers pinned Julius's arms behind his back, clicking handcuffs. He spat curses, his facade of suave confidence unraveling. You think you can keep me in jail? I have connections, he roared, face twisted with rage. The detective read him his rights calmly. Melody watched, shaking. She felt a hollow sense of relief that Julius's hold was broken, but also dread for the repercussions. She turned, noticing the documents with forged Tanner Dawson signatures, all labeled as evidence. No escaping that. She realized her own complicity. Reyes gave her a nod. We'll process your statement fully, Ms. Dawson. You did the right thing cooperating. That should help your case. Her tears streamed. I know I'm sorry. Tanner had waited in the cafe down the street, heart pounding. Oscar sat with him, phone in hand. Then a text from Reyes. We have Julius in custody. All went smoothly. Let's talk soon. A wave of relief and an odd emptiness washed over Tanner. They got him, he whispered. Oscar gave a triumphant grin. He felt the desire to see Julius marched away in cuffs. But the detective had advised him to keep distance, letting the legal system do its job. Instead, he simply closed his eyes, picturing that arrogant grin replaced by panic. Justice. Detective Reyes soon invited them to the precinct. Tanner and Oscar arrived, meeting Melody in the hallway. She was sitting on a bench, eyes rimmed red, speaking quietly with an officer. She glanced up, seeing Tanner. He approached slowly, tension thrumming. She stood, wiping her cheeks. It's done. They took him. Tanner nodded, arms folded. Yes, now we finalize everything. Reyes emerged, gesturing them to follow into an office. We have enough to charge Julius with multiple felonies: identity theft, forgery, conspiracy, plus intimidation. Ms. Dawson's statements confirm it. He'll likely face a heavy sentence if convicted. The evidence is airtight. Tanner exhaled, shoulders sagging with relief. Finally. The detective turned to Melody. Given your cooperation, the DA may offer you a plea deal for any involvement. I suggest you comply fully. Melody nodded numbly, gaze averted from Tanner. I will. I just want to fix what I can. Tanner said nothing more, letting the legal machinery churn. The final stage was here. Julius in custody, his fake twin con exposed. Melody facing potential charges but possibly leniency for turning witness. And for Tanner, some closure. Chapter 12. In the days following Julius's arrest, local media latched onto the bizarre story. A doppelganger con man tried to impersonate or leverage a twin identity to swindle property, roping the wife of a respected occupational therapist into an affair. The headlines read, Cheating Wife and Fake Twin, Audacious Real Estate Scam Foiled. Journalists pestered Tanner for interviews. He declined politely, citing the ongoing legal process. Still, the scandal spread online. Some neighbors recognized Tanner's face from social media, confusing him with Julius's circulated mugshot. The fiasco sparked countless rumors and jokes. Tanner, while unsettled by the publicity, also felt a grim satisfaction that Julius's name was publicly tarnished. People ridiculed him for forging a twin narrative, calling him the reflection thief. Melody's role garnered scorn. How could she betray her husband with a con man who looked like him? Though humiliating, it served as a cautionary tale. For Tanner, the negative spotlight was painful, but at least it validated his stance, ensuring he wouldn't be perceived as a gullible fool. Sophie, overhearing classmates whisper about Mommy's scandal, came home one afternoon, tearful. "Dad, they said Mom cheated on you with some weird twin man?" Tanner's heart sank. He knelt, hugging her gently. "I'm sorry, sweetheart, people gossip. Mom made mistakes with a bad person, but the police handled it." Ryan, wide-eyed, asked, "Is she going to jail?" Tanner bit back sorrow. "That depends on the judge. She's cooperating, so maybe not. But she won't be living with us." Their tears cut deeply. He assured them of his unwavering love, that none of this was their fault. He silently cursed Melody for dragging them into an adult scandal, yet he softened enough to vow to shield them from further cruelty. Oscar, seeing the emotional toll on Tanner, stepped up further at the clinic. He urged Tanner to take partial leave, handle family matters. Meanwhile, he discovered new revelations from Paul's forensic search. Julius had prior warrants in 3 other states. Additional victims might come forward, strengthening the case. One day, Oscar sat with Tanner in the break room, flipping through data. "This is huge. Julius might face a multi-state trial. He could be locked away for decades." Tanner nodded, relief blossoming. "Good. He deserves it for how many lives he's wrecked." Oscar placed a hand on Tanner's shoulder. "And you, man? You deserve to move on, freed from all that poison." Tanner exhaled. "Yes. I'm done letting bitterness define me. The kids need me stable. Maybe once the dust settles, I can rebuild something normal." Melody unexpectedly texted Tanner. "I want to meet. The DA said I must testify fully. I'd like to talk about the kids, too." Tanner read it, feeling a swirl of conflicting emotions. He texted back, "We can meet in a public place. No illusions. I'm not reconciling, only discussing practical matters." She agreed. They settled on a coffee shop near the courthouse. The next day, Tanner arrived early. Anxiety coiled in his gut. Melody entered, hair pulled back, face drawn and pale. She spotted him in a corner booth. Sitting across from him, she bit her lip. "Thank you for coming." He eyed her coolly. "You said you want to do right by the kids. Now's your chance. Cooperate fully. Ensure Julius can't reemerge." She nodded shakily. "I will. I told the DA everything about forging, him threatening me, the false twin story. They said I might get probation if I keep testifying." Tanner sipped his coffee, uncertain what to feel. "Then do it. No half measures." A tear slid down her cheek. "I'm sorry about hurting you. The kids, everything. I know words are hollow now." His gaze flicked away. "Yes, they are. Apologize to the kids eventually, that's all I can say." She swallowed. "Can I see them? Under supervised terms or something?" "I'll abide by court orders, but I miss them." He studied her expression, raw regret overshadowed by guilt. "I'll talk to the counselor. If they advise it, we'll arrange supervised visits, but they're traumatized. Don't expect them to welcome you with open arms." She nodded, tears threatening to spill. "I understand." They parted in silent tension. Tanner felt a faint sense of closure. She was paying for her betrayal. As the weeks rolled on, the DA pressed charges against Julius for multiple felonies: forgery, attempted grand larceny, identity theft, plus lesser counts of harassment. The day of the pretrial hearing arrived. Tanner, accompanied by Oscar, sat in the gallery, quietly watching the legal process he'd set in motion. Julius was brought from custody in a prison jumpsuit, his once perfect hair disheveled, eyes still burning with anger. He shot Tanner a venomous glare. Melody, also present as a state witness, avoided Julius's gaze, trembling slightly. The judge read the charges. The DA laid out the summary. This defendant attempted to impersonate Mr. Tanner Dawson, forging official documents for a multi-thousand-dollar property con. Julius's defense attorney attempted a not guilty plea, claiming lack of direct proof. The DA retorted by describing the overwhelming video and audio. The judge, unimpressed by the defense's half-baked arguments, denied any bail reduction. Julius was led back to jail, cursing under his breath. Tanner watched him vanish through the side door, a wave of satisfaction mingled with sorrow. Melody is partly free, but paying a price. Julius is stuck in jail, hopefully for a long time. Marcia pursued a parallel civil case to recover any damages. She demanded punitive measures for the emotional distress and potential financial losses from Julius's attempted fraud. Melody, ironically, found herself a co-defendant, though partially shielded by her cooperation. Tanner, half resentful, half relieved, let the attorneys handle it. He wanted minimal personal contact with Melody, only legal clarity. The judge eventually froze all marital assets under Tanner's control, awarding him majority rights to their home, savings, etc., given Melody's proven wrongdoing. She'd face an uphill battle for spousal support, given her adulterous conspiracy. Marcia whispered triumphantly, "You're in a strong position. The kids remain under your custody. Finances secured. Melody will get limited resources at best. That con man can't claim a penny." Tanner nodded, lips pressed thin. "Good. Let them see I'm not a doormat." One night, after tucking the children into bed, Tanner found himself alone on the porch, the sky velvet black, stars blinking overhead. He sipped a mug of tea, letting the tension of the day drain away. He recalled the day he met Melody in college, her bright smile, vivacious personality. He'd never foreseen such a cruel betrayal. Yet here he stood, forging a new life from the wreckage, determined to be a stable father. Despite the heartbreak, a sense of release flickered. "I'm free from illusions," he thought, and that is its own relief. A text from Oscar arrived. Police might finalize charges next week. Jury trial likely. Then you can rest easy. He typed back a simple, "Thanks, friend." Then he looked at the stars, allowing a single tear of regret for the marriage lost. Tomorrow, he'd continue forging a better future for him and the kids, unburdened by Melody's deceptions. The next morning, Marcia informed Tanner that Melody formally accepted a plea bargain for her role. She'd admit to aiding and abetting forgery, hoping for probation plus community service. Her biggest punishment was losing custody, losing trust. She might also testify in Julius's upcoming trial. Tanner felt a swirl of relief, at least she faced consequences. Meanwhile, she seemed to find a small measure of redemption by turning on Julius. The kids might, in time, see her as regretful, not purely malicious. He told Marcia, "As long as the kids are safe, I won't push for prison time for her." Marcia gave a gentle nod. "That's wise. Her sentence or probation is up to the court anyway. But your statement of not opposing leniency might influence the judge." He sighed. "I just want closure. If she's truly sorry, let her rebuild her life away from us. The children can decide how much contact they want in the future." One evening, Oscar surprised Tanner by organizing a small gathering at a local grill, inviting a few close friends who'd supported Tanner during the meltdown. They toasted to the end of the con, acknowledging that Julius was behind bars, Melody had faced reality, and Tanner's kids were secure. Tanner, raising a glass of soda, murmured, "Thanks everyone for standing by me. This year's been unimaginable, but I survived." Oscar clinked glasses with him. "You more than survived. You crushed them. I'm proud of you." Amid the chatter, Tanner allowed a faint smile. It felt alien to celebrate, but also a relief to mark the passing of that dark chapter. The storm had not fully ended, Julia's trial still loomed, but the worst seemed behind him. Days turned to weeks, the swirl of legal proceedings continuing. Julia's lawyers attempted multiple pleas, but the DA refused any bargain short of a near-maximum sentence. Melody's cooperation sealed Julius's fate. The upcoming trial promised a sensational spectacle. A cunning con man tried to pass himself off as a twin, seduced a married woman, attempted property theft. The media prepared for a field day, but for Tanner it was simply the final step in banishing Julius from his life. He resolved to attend the trial only to give his testimony the final blow, then recede, focusing on his children, his clinic, and healing. Each day, the kids thrived more, slowly forgetting the turmoil. He devoted himself to them, to rebuilding trust. If Melody wanted a role in their future, she'd have to prove herself step by step under court guidelines. Meanwhile, Julius would face a public reckoning. Thus ended the broad arcs: Melody's apology, Julius's arrest, the secured custody for Tanner. But the final confrontation in open court still beckoned, ensuring the conspirators' downfall would be permanently etched in legal record. Chapter 13. A gray morning sky hung over the courthouse on the day Julius faced his ultimate reckoning. The building brimmed with onlookers, local news vans, curious citizens, even some self-styled podcasters wanting to chronicle the bizarre fake twin saga. Inside, the corridors bustled with attorneys, reporters hunched over notepads, camera crews discreetly stationed in the public areas. Tanner arrived early wearing a subdued charcoal suit, stepping through the metal detector. By his side, Oscar carried a folder of backup evidence, just in case. The children were safe at school, shielded from the media circus. They spotted Melody near the gallery entrance, pale and trembling in a modest dress. She gave Tanner a hesitant nod, as if seeking silent approval to testify truthfully. He offered a curt dip of his head. "Do your part," his eyes seemed to say. At 9 a.m., the bailiff called the court to order. Judge Rawlings, a stern woman with salt and pepper hair, presided over the case. State versus Julius Gray, indicted on multiple counts of forgery, identity theft, conspiracy, harassment, and attempted fraud. The prosecutor laid out the narrative in opening statements, painting Julius as a cunning predator who exploited a married woman's vulnerability to steal property through a forged identity. A hush fell as Julius was escorted into the courtroom in a suit borrowed from a relative, no longer the sleek designer clothes he once flaunted. His hair was trimmed in a bland style, face gaunt from weeks in county jail. Yet he maintained a smug posture, shooting Tanner a seething glare. He had a new defense attorney, a stern-faced man who approached with caution. Rumor said Julius fired his prior counsel for not getting him bail. This attorney tried to argue a lack of direct involvement defense, painting Melody as a confused paramour who acted on her own. But the prosecutor's introduction quickly refuted that, mentioning the countless recordings of Julius boasting about forging Tanner's signature. Tanner and Oscar sat behind the prosecution table, bracing for the spectacle. The judge scanned the case file, lips tight. "We will now hear from the state's witnesses," she declared. Detective Reyes took the stand first, recounting how the sting operation was set, how Julius arrived with forged documents, and how Melody's cooperation confirmed his crimes. The detective displayed partial transcripts of Julius bragging about power over Tanner. The jury watched with rapt attention. Next, the prosecution introduced phone logs, courtesy of Paul, the forensics expert. They showed the repeated calls to Melody, references to forging. The forensics also revealed multiple fake IDs recovered from Julius's possessions. The highlight: a near-perfect fake driver's license listing Tanner Dawson, but with Julius's photo. Gasps echoed in the courtroom. Tanner's heart pounded. The man was indeed trying to be him. The brazen nature turned his stomach. When Melody was called, she approached the witness stand, eyes downcast. She swore to tell the truth, then described meeting Julius at a charity event. He claimed to be Tanner's long-lost twin, spinning a sob story. She admitted she was lonely, seduced by his exotic aura, and eventually fell into the affair. She recounted how Julius gradually introduced the idea of forging Tanner's signature, promising quick riches and minimal risk. She voiced her regrets, tears staining her cheeks. "I knew it was wrong, but I was in too deep," she told the jury, voice cracking. "He threatened to expose me if I backed out. I felt trapped." Julius glowered from the defense table. His lawyer attempted to discredit her, labeling her a jilted lover lying for leniency. But the prosecutor displayed videos from the resort, Julius and Melody discussing forging documents. The defense's challenge faltered. Tanner listened stoically from behind, arms crossed. A pang of grief flickered. This was the woman he once loved. Now she confessed to betraying him in open court. The finality weighed on him. Then came Tanner. The prosecution asked him to detail how he uncovered the affair, how he and Oscar recorded the evidence at Surfside Villa, the phone records, and especially the moment he realized Julius was forging his identity. He maintained composure, though anger laced his every word. The defense tried to imply Tanner was jealous or coercing Melody to frame Julius. But Tanner calmly recited the chronological facts, referencing actual recordings. The judge nodded, seemingly convinced. Julius's lawyer pressed, "Mr. Dawson, you invaded your wife's privacy with hidden cameras. Doesn't that cast doubt on your moral high ground?" Tanner responded evenly. "We installed cameras in our own home and used a rented suite with mutual consent for security. And ironically, Julius installed the resort camera system himself. We used the publicly accessible vantage points." The judge seemed unfazed by the defense's attempt, focusing on the overwhelming evidence of Julius's wrongdoing. The prosecution's final punch came with the big audio clips, Julius mocking Tanner's naive trust, referencing a twin scheme and instructing Melody on forging. The courtroom was silent as Julius's voice rang out. "He's too nice. Won't suspect a thing. We'll slip the doc in, sign his name ourselves, then we're golden. If he fights, I'll threaten to leak your affair. He'll crumble." The jury's eyes shifted from the speaker to Julius, who glowered in rage. The audio left little doubt about his guilt. Melody silently wept, probably recalling the night she let him talk her into these vile acts. Tanner felt a swirl of anger and relief. This was the moment of truth. When the defense took their turn, they tried painting Julius as an unfortunate scapegoat, claiming Melody orchestrated the forging. Yet multiple recordings contradicted that claim. Julius's own arrogant confessions, plus the stolen property forms bearing Tanner Dawson in Julius's handwriting, were impossible to refute. Julius seethed at the table, fists clenched. At one point, he demanded to speak, nearly standing up, but his lawyer tugged him down. The judge admonished him for outbursts. It was clear the defense was out of moves. They offered no plausible explanation for why Julius possessed multiple IDs, direct references to forging Tanner's signature, or how he bragged about controlling Melody. After days of testimony, the trial neared its conclusion. The prosecution gave a scathing closing argument. Mr. Gray cunningly exploited Ms. Dawson's vulnerability, attempting to impersonate or overshadow Mr. Tanner Dawson for illegal property gain. The evidence is unequivocal. Let the jury hold him accountable. Julius's defense tried feebly to paint him as merely an opportunistic lover, not the mastermind, but the judge's expression spoke volumes. The jury was unmoved by half-baked rationalizations. When they retired to deliberate, the tension in the courtroom soared. Tanner squeezed Oscar's shoulder, the two exchanging a hopeful glance. Melody sat alone, tears in her eyes, awaiting the final word. The jury returned faster than expected, under 3 hours, a sign the evidence was overwhelming. The four persons stood, reading the verdict. Guilty on forgery, identity theft, conspiracy, attempted grand larceny, plus harassment. Gasps echoed. Julius rose, his face twisting in fury. He shouted, "This is a setup! I was the real victim!" Guards restrained him. The judge hammered the gavel, pronouncing that sentencing would occur in 2 weeks. Julius was remanded to custody. No bail extension. He glared murderously at Tanner, who stared back with cold composure. Melody watched from the gallery, trembling, tears sliding down. She locked eyes with Tanner for a fleeting moment, possibly seeking forgiveness. He gave no sign. The bailiff escorted Julius away, still raging. The con man had fallen. Exiting the courtroom, Tanner felt the adrenaline drain from his limbs. Oscar patted his back in congratulations, though the day felt more tragic than celebratory. Melody trailed them, overshadowed by shame. She whispered, "I guess this is it." He paused, turning to her. "Yes, Julius is done. You'll face your consequences, but the kids are safe. That's all that matters now." She nodded, tears brimming. "I'll never forgive myself, but I'll do everything I can to atone." "I'm so sorry, Tanner." He offered a solemn nod. "I hope you do, for their sake." Then he walked away, leaving her in the corridor, tears marking her silent penance. Thus ended Julius's trial, the final blow in a saga of betrayal, con artistry, and heartbreak. The man who dared to impersonate Tanner, cheat him financially, and steal his wife's affection had been publicly exposed and condemned. For Tanner, though sorrow lingered, a new dawn broke, one shaped by his unwavering stance, the kids' well-being, and a future free from the shadow of that fake twin. Hey, listeners of